Hey, recognize that chubby idiot from Parks and Rec? We're gonna turn him into a sex symbol. That would be hilarious. Remember the worst movie we ever made, Howard the Duck? Stick that after the credits when everyone's expecting Avengers 2. It'll totally with our fans, and they'll love it anyways. Speaking of which, remember Thanos from that one scene at the end of the Avengers a few years ago? Well, we're bringing him back, and he's still not doing shit. Why? Because you. We're Marvel, that's why. What are you gonna do? Watch DC? Thought so.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the show that heard that Honey Boo Boo's mother was offered money to get the porn. Congratulations, we now found the one porno we won't watch. I am Jeremy.
I'm disgusted. Oh.
Your names.
God. No.
Jesse.
And V?
This sounds like a question. Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com, on iTunes and on Stitcher. You can like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at The Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The clip you heard, or the theme music you heard at the beginning of the show is Machinae Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinaesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard at the very beginning of the show was Honest Trailers' The Guardians of the Galaxy. Because fuck you, we're Marvel, that's why. You can find their YouTube channel at Honest Trailers on YouTube.com. How's everybody doing?
Hey, I'm a year older now.
You make it sound like death just occurred.
Yeah, my stepmom pointed out to me that I'm almost 40. I was like,
yeah,
thanks.
I know.
I was starting to feel when people were saying the shows I watched as a child were like, wow, that's old. Now I'm getting to the point where I say, what the hell is that? I'm reaching that point.
You know what? I can't relate. I've got a bunch of 20-somethings at my work who all say, I'm turning 30. I'm going to be dead soon. It's like, fuck, I'm like 7 times dirt.
Yeah, I'll have to admit, I'm turning 28 soon, and I'm like, it's the end of the world.
I didn't even blink when I hit 30. I was like, what? 30? Who cares?
I've only
Now
got
I'm hitting
7
40
more.
And I'm like,
Yeah, I've only got 7 more years before I have to procreate.
It's not like that's a given or anything. You're not looking at some kind of invisible clock in your wrist or anything.
There is a. Well, I don't want to be my mom.
Okay. Don't have kids. There you go. Break the cycle. You know what? My wife pointed out today that story that Honey Boo Boo's mother was actually offered money to be in a porno, and that was the most disgusting concept I had ever heard of since Kim Kardashian posed naked.
I don't want to think right now.
I'm more worried that her, child molesting boyfriend is going to ask her if he can be in a scene with her daughter.
I don't even want to think right now.
Ew. Gross.
I know. Man,
Jeremy, stop.
It's not the downfall of American society. This is the end.
All right. From the end, let's go to the beginning. Onward.
The topic of discussion this week is the recent Dredd movie, which I believe was released last year. Was it 2013?
Sure.
I don't think it was that recent.
It
Maybe
was
2012. I don't recall.
I don't really remember either.
We are so good at this.
Prepared.
I remember having seen it. I just don't remember what year I saw it.
Okay, it was 2012. But before that, we'll get into our usual. We only have one item left in the Kickstarter corner because one of them was already a given and the other one was depressing. All we have left is Cosplay 24 Beyond the Mask by Chase Lawrence. This is another in the series of books that have been put out on Kickstarter for cosplay. This person assembled approximately 12 or 24 cosplayers, and he followed their lives for a little while, as well as took pictures of them, obviously. It involves cosplayers like Z Sasuke, Cell Saga, RC64, Monster Mash, and Missy. This Kickstarter currently has 47 days to go. It ends on Saturday, January 31st. Has 9 backers. Has a goal of $27,000 to get production started. Currently has $276.
That's all?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I believe that's the exact same amount it had when we first found this last week. Someone is not advertising. That or the internet's just getting more skeptical about, cosplay Kickstarters.
Thank you, Yaya Han.
We're just skeptical on bitches. So we will push forward from there because there's really not much to say beyond that. It's not going forward like you would think. We'll step into video game news. Man, these amiibo things, you would think that a technology that's so prevalent would not be as in demand as it is. But there are several amiibos that are being discontinued and therefore are jumping up in price on eBay. As it turns out, the amiibos for Marth, the villager from, I don't know what the frick that game was, Animal Crossing, I think, and the Wii Fit Trainer have disappeared from store shelves because people keep picking them up. They were supposed to be limited run items, with other characters like Mario, Princess Peach, and Luigi supposed to be the regular run and much more prevalent. Because of that, these amiibos are now popping up on eBay from their retail price of $13, and they're going for up to $70 currently.
Could be worse. Could be the double Cannon Samus for going for $2,000.
Well, funny you mentioned that. There's an amiibo that recently went on eBay for $25,000.
Which one?
There's a defective Princess Peach. Actually, I will send you the URL. Now, it looks like your standard Princess Peach, but there's something very wrong with this figure, and I had to have it pointed out to me simply because I don't own any recent Nintendo consoles. You can see it there. Spot anything wrong?
No legs?
You are precisely right. She gets a Cupid doll. It's supposed to have a pair of legs floating underneath it, which this one does not. I don't know how rare this is, and, I was in Target today, and I looked at the amiibo aisle. It's actually pretty sparse. But because of this particular defect and the fact that it's still sealed on the blister card, this did go for $25,000.
Congratulations, whoever had that much money to spend on something that I never want to have.
Right?
I wonder if these things will keep that kind of pricing. I mean, they're defects and everything, but console technology doesn't exactly hold value.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to spend that much money on a piece of plastic, but then again, I spent $500 on transforming plastic already.
I was about to say, I'm not sure you have much room to argue there, sir.
I don't know. There's a difference between 500 and 25,000. Just slight gap, slight.
It all depends on your income level, unfortunately.
That's true. It's probably chump change.
25,000 is like a $5 drop in the bucket.
Right.
Speaking of overblowing it when it comes to your collections, there's a Counter-Strike player. Last week we talked about some of the controversy regarding the Counter-Strike tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a Counter-Strike player named The Don, D-A-H-N. And he has decided to give up Counter-Strike. He no longer finds it interesting. That same thing that happens to anybody with any hobby or interest.
Burnout.
Right.
A little bit, yeah. However, he was also a collector, and the game has several weapons that come as limited run items due to specific events or tournaments and things like that. And he was also a completist.
Oh.
The result of which is he has an arsenal that he's currently putting up for sale that's been valued at somewhere between $7,500 and $9,000 worth of digital gear. Keep in mind, this is all non-tangible digital items that he now has up for sale simply because he's no longer interested in Counter-Strike.
Yeah. At least the $25,000 for a piece of plastic means you actually get something in hand.
Yeah. The Don actually has a quote here. He was interviewed on Kotaku. Quote, "Right as I was about to quit Counter-Strike GO for good, Valve released an update adding new skins to the game. The collector in me twitched, and I just had to reinstall to see what it was all about. I didn't much care for the new skins, but I did enjoy collecting them. I slowly added more and more skins as newer collections came out. Every once in a while I would scoop up all the ones I was missing. It was a big, disheveled mess, but it was complete. I've always been one to have a deep urge to complete something in its entirety." And after that, I should say unquote, after that it appears that his collection turned into an obsession, and even though he was only moderately interested in Counter-Strike, he just kept getting more and more gear. Quote, "I took that disheveled mess through many trade offers with my alt. I organized it into a kind of CSGO museum, which began to attract a great deal of attention. For a while, he even offered rentals of his more prized possessions and accepted donations to help make his collection as comprehensive as possible," unquote.
He has an addiction, I think.
Well, not anymore. He is giving it up, and he's placed all items, 641 items, up for sale. He has all 37 container series, all 168 stickers, 287 out of 300 gun skins, missing only 13. All 7 fade knives, every gun skin, every music kit, discontinued skins. According to Steam Tools, it places the 641 item set real money value at $7,383.43. That's probably not the given total according to Kotaku, because Steam Tools has trouble with individual items worth over $400.
Wow.
Well, whoever buys it, I hope they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, the only question left to determine is whether or not he's actually going to get his money's worth out of that. Because, some people with obsessions over completing games, that might not be the amount of money he put into it. I'm not saying he's not going to get it, I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, at least he'll recoup something. I mean,
yeah.
He spent the money when he had it, so...
And what's sad is he went across the street, bought himself a 3DS and several Pokemon games.
Really?
No.
Oh.
We almost believed you.
I don't know. He's a completionist. I could see doing Pokemon.
Well, this almost made me want to cry. And I put this in video game news because it is loosely video game news. Sony Entertainment has run into some trouble because of the hacking.
Right.
It's revealed a whole bunch of internal documents that were never technically supposed to see light. Well, it's added one more thing that never should have seen light for several reasons. Sony wants to make a Mario Brothers movie, and they just landed the rights to it.
What?
It appears that
Interesting.
BuzzFeed's reports has a couple of congratulatory emails between producer Avi Arad and Sony studio chief Amy Pascal about closing the deal and plans for the franchise. Arad later denied the deal closed to BuzzFeed. But they got the information out of the emails that were recently made public as a result of the hacking.
I kind of feel there's a conflict of interest with Sony trying to produce the Mario Brothers movie.
I don't know. The only conflict of interest I see is what level of brush I'm going to use on my eyes for the next Mario film. Something would need to be scrubbed completely out of my cortex after that.
I prefer brain bleach. It's a lot cleaner.
I know I could Google this, but I guess there is a previous Mario Brothers movies.
Yeah, there
it
is.
starred John Leguizamo and Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, I refuse to speak of such.
Other than the names used in the movie, it had pretty much nothing to do with the Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think personally, I think that like the Mario Brothers guys on that old cartoon show were more
Captain Lou Albano?
faithful to that than that.
Yeah, that was Captain Lou. Let me put it this way, V. They used super scopes, like Nintendo 8-bit super scopes, 16-bit super scopes, as the special weapon in this movie for some ungodly reason. The only guess I have as to why they did that is because they probably had warehouses of these stupid things and nothing to do with them.
So what are you supposed to do with all the Virtual Boys?
Keith Apicary music videos? Call it a roundabout guess. Well, we'll push on from there. Something I didn't expect, given how Destiny has been critically received. It's had issues. No lie there. But believe it or not, this story doesn't have to do with Destiny. This has to do with something I thought would step in with the weakness in Destiny. Call of Duty retail sales are on the decline.
Really?
Had to happen eventually.
Advanced Warfare, which came out last month, has been the best-selling game for November, according to the NPD. But it's not as good as it was in recent years. According to an analyst named Michael Olson, Activision sales were 22% down compared to the same month last year, and Call of Duty specifically were down 27% from this point last year. So, in other words, even though there's a brand new game out there for the same series, people just aren't buying Call of Duty in general, it seems.
Maybe they've been burnt out by the franchise?
It could have just been the number of shooters. There was a bunch of shooters that were released that people had to pick and choose from over that, 30, 45-day period? Because there was Call of Duty, Destiny, the Halo Master Chief Collection, Sunset Overdrive, and I want to say there's one or two other things I'm probably forgetting. So you could say that the FPS crowd was probably pretty well split by this point. It's just... it's interesting to note because you never know when things are going to hit a decline, but everything has to sooner or later.
Yeah.
I guess with the exception of Mario Brothers, because someone is still buying that.
And Nintendo to keep shoving it in their faces, so...
Well, yeah, there's already a Captain Toad game.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep. I
yeah.
remember you showing us that.
That's
I don't
a new
recall,
one.
I don't think I showed it to you.
No, I think no, you showed it to me and whoever when we were at Kamikaze.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe I saw it somewhere else. I don't know.
No, probably somewhere else, because that doesn't sound like something I sit down and lament over Kamikaze. But from there, we'll move on into the Marvel media news. We talked about Marvel projects that don't fall on comic book pages. This goes back to the Sony hacking story, because according to the email, some more emails pulled out of that info dump, Marvel was pretty close to landing movie rights for Spider-Man temporarily. According to a few of the emails that have been shown across different websites, it said that the rights to borrow Spider-Man for either Captain America 3 Civil War or possibly the Infinity War for the Avengers films could have been borrowed for a small amount of time. The deal would have given Marvel 60% of the film rights, with Sony retaining 40%. The deal would have started if Sony kept on messing up the franchise, according to the Latino Review. But the deal apparently is in limbo right now, simply because Sony's entertainment division is still dealing with the info hack that's going on.
Yeah, wouldn't want to have to deny more things that are kind of hard to deny since it's out there.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later, because I have questions about that whole hacking thing. It's too bad that this issue seems to have stalled Spider-Man rejoining the Avengers in their cinematic universe. But the hack got a little bit deeper, because it said that if Marvel got the rights to Spider-Man, they weren't really interested in asking Andrew Garfield to step back into it.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I didn't say there's anything wrong with how he played it. It's just, still according to Latino Review, if the deal to borrow Spider-Man back for the cinematic universe did go forward, they just were not interested in having Andrew Garfield in the tights at that time. And this is probably where that stalled out, because the way Marvel would see it, the previous Spider-Man movies would be outside continuity.
Right.
So they would be looking to create their own Spider-Man mythos within their films, probably because if the deal went south and they only borrowed him for one film, at least then they wouldn't have to recall a lot of history they didn't write. And then they would get to forget things they probably would prefer to, like, Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Amazing Peter Parker or shit like that.
So, no Andrew Garfield, and who was the other guy? Can't remember.
Tobey Maguire.
Right!
Yeah. Well, Tobey Maguire's a little older now. I would assume that he's no longer suitable for the role.
I will maintain that I thought Tobey Maguire was a pretty damn good Peter Parker.
I agree.
I thought it was a pretty good Spider-Man, too. The movies were just written by the guy who, for those who didn't know, it was done by the guy who did Power Rangers, so you kind of had to give it a lot of leeway.
I really liked the first movie. I don't remember the second, and I haven't seen the third.
Don't bother with the third. I like the second one only because better villain.
Yep. I thought Kirsten Dunst was miscast, but other than that.
Well, the only other Marvel media news I have is a decent one. There have been some new characters actually revealed in the Ant-Man movie, finally. We finally found out that, according to a press release, I'll just read the whole thing in quote here. Quote, the next evolution of Marvel Cinematic Universe begins with a founding member of the Avengers to the big screen for the first time with Marvel Studios' Ant-Man. Armed with the astonishing ability to shrink in scale but increase in strength, Master Thief Scott Lang must embrace his inner hero and help his mentor, Dr. Hank Pym, protect the secret behind his spectacular Ant-Man suit from a new generation of towering threats. Against seemingly insurmountable obstacles, Pym and Lang must plan and pull off a heist that will save the world. Marvel's Ant-Man stars Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, a.k.a. Ant-Man, Evangeline Lilly as Hope Van Dyne, Corey Stoll as Darren Cross, a.k.a. Yellow Jacket, Bobby Carnival as Paxton, Michael Pena as Luis, Judy Greer as Maggie, Tip Ty Harris as Dave, David Dastelchan as Kurt, Wood Harris as Gale, Jodie Moria as Castillo, and Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. Directed by Peyton Reed and produced by Kevin Feige, Marvel's Ant-Man delivers a high-stakes, tension-filled adventure on July 17th, 2015, unquote.
Yeah, so all those people without last names, I have no idea who those are.
I'm not entirely sure myself, but they finally did mention specifically Yellow Jacket as the villain of the film. Well, maybe not as the villain, but the obvious choice as villain.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that he ended up adopting that later. I wonder if that always started out as a villain. I'd have to look that up. But also of interest is the fact that that date I mentioned, July 17th, there was another movie that was scheduled to come out that day that has since changed.
Oh? Which one?
Technically, Ant-Man just beat up Wolverine. Hugh Jackman is co-starring in a remake of the Peter Pan story just called Pan. It was originally coming out on July 17th, 2015. ComingSoon.net has said that the film has been pushed back 1 week to July 24th, 2015.
Who's he supposed to play? Hook?
Well, Pan is a prequel story. It's supposed to be Blackbeard he's playing.
Huh.
Garrett Hedlund is playing Captain Hook.
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
Levi...
He actually looks pretty wicked as Blackbeard.
Oh, he couldn't do much worse than Christopher Walken as Captain Hook.
Dude, I found that inspired.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I think he makes
a lot of people found it geriatric.
Well, he is rather old, but I thought he made a very good-looking Hook. I haven't seen the show because I don't really care about Peter Pan, but he looked the part.
The show were pretty dismal. Well, makeup is an amazing thing. We'll say that much.
Indeed.
Let's see. We'll move on to DC Media News. The first Batmobile has sold at auction.
Oh, is that the one we were talking about last week?
The 1966 Batmobile?
Sure.
No. This was one I was not aware of. This Batmobile was built in 1963 by Forrest Robinson. It was an adaptation of the Batmobile from the comics at the time and is a completely custom vehicle. The 1966 Batmobile was a production car that was repainted and played around with a bit, but this 1963 one was a 100% original and built car.
Nice.
Robinson built this thing for himself, but it eventually caught the attention of a DC Comics licensee who paid Robinson to tour the vehicle around the U.S. promoting Batman comics. So that made it the first ever official Batmobile.
Huh.
It went to Sacramento, California eventually. It was sold around to a few different parties, but it reappeared in beat-up state in 2008. Then it was purchased and restored in Sacramento, went to auction, and went for $137,000.
Jesus.
It looks loosely based off a Corvette.
It almost looks like it has parts of a Studebaker and a couple other things.
Yeah.
It looks pretty.
Yeah?
Yes. Someone owns this thing now. $137,000 is actually not bad to pay for that piece of memorabilia.
Mm-hmm.
It probably would have gone for more, except people were just saying, is that really a Batmobile?
Look back far
It
enough.
doesn't look like anything I recognize.
Hit the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, it's cool, though. Now, Jason Momoa is supposed to be our brunetted Aquaman for for Batman v Superman, at least Dawn of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, according to the Daily Mail, Jason Momoa's movie deal has expanded to 4 films.
Really?
Intriguing.
I played Khal Drogo on Game of Thrones. He was the most recent Conan. When Momoa was asked about the Aquaman character, he said, quote, "He will be a badass, otherwise they wouldn't cast me for the role," unquote.
True.
Okay.
Hey, if he's feeling it, he's feeling it. But, that means that he's going to be in the Batman v Superman, probably the Justice League film, the Aquaman film. There's something else in there, then. He's probably going to play a cameo in someone else's movie.
Probably.
So it's nice that they secured him. They've got some continuity, but, man, really need to see at least the first one of these products to decide if I want to spend any ongoing money in this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't technically gotten there. Now, this is one of those things that pains me right in the sphincter. I don't know why anyone's doing this. There's another DC TV series in development on the Sci-Fi Network, or Sci-Fi, as some people call it.
Okay.
There's a new Superman prequel series coming.
Oh, yay.
Another one?
Well, yeah, unlike Smallville and unlike Gotham, this will very likely have nothing, and I mean nothing to do with the title character. It's called Krypton. Want to guess what era this is?
Before it blew up.
Everything?
Yes, before it blew up. I don't know what character they'd be following. Maybe it's his father. What the fuck was his father's name?
Jor-El?
Jor-El, thank you. It may be following his adventures all over the planet. But I don't have a...
Well, I don't. Did they specifically say it's not going to involve Kal-El at all? Because they did have that weird alternate Superman series running for a while, where Kal-El was growing up on Krypton and all that shit.
Well, the guy running the cinematic universe for DC, David Goyer, the one who thinks that the She-Hulk is a green prostitute.
Oh, right.
He actually said in a quote, "Years before the Superman legend we know, the House of El was shamed and ostracized. The series follows the Man of Steel's grandfather as he brings hope and equality to Krypton, turning a planet in disarray into one worthy of giving birth to the greatest superhero ever known," unquote.
Oh my.
Oh, we're not
Okay, so it's not even going to be
Jor-El.
Jor-El. It's going to be whoever this nameless L is.
Yeah, and wouldn't that be completely different? Because the House of El were pretty much pariahs until the end of the planet, were they not?
According to
They're
the
ahead.
last movie, he was like some top scientist guy.
Yeah.
He was a top scientist, but every time the story comes up, Jor-El is always yelling something to the equivalent of the sky's falling, the planet's ending, we have to leave, and everyone just goes, "Ah, you don't know what you're talking about."
Well, that's
because they're stupid.
Yeah. Had nothing to do with
Like
his
I said,
standing. It had to do with they just don't want to see what's in front of their face.
This is one of those series where you don't have to call it Krypton. It doesn't have anything to do with, you don't really have to do anything with DC. Just name it something and move on.
But it does have at least something to do with Krypton.
Yeah.
I just don't think, unless you're already a Superman fan, I don't think there's going to be a lot in this series to watch.
I don't
It's
know.
a sci-fi show, after all. The budgets on these have not been terrific since Galactica closed.
Yeah.
Who
I
knows?
have
Maybe
no
you'll
idea.
get a guest appearance by the Sharktopus.
Oh my.
Mark Hamill is going to be in a DC TV series.
As the Joker?
No, Trickster.
No.
He's reprising his role as a trickster from the first Flash series.
Well, something tells me it's not going to be entirely in continuity as in that format.
Yeah.
He's going to be the trickster again. Whether or not he's going to be an aging guy where the current one finds his suit and puts it on, I don't know. But in both series, he's played the role of the trickster. James Jesse is his name. So something tells me that there's going to be a young buck picking up his trench coat. However, the picture of Hamill from the 93 series as the trickster, holy frick, you could not have made this costume any louder. I'll send you the URL. Take a look at his shirt. It looks like Crazy Quilt made it. Not to mention did something to his hair.
Oh my.
Oh, for a second I thought that was Jim Carrey.
I
Right?
don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
It's a complisalt? I didn't invent that.
Holy frick, dudes. You could read that shirt in Braille.
Well, it makes the second actor from the original series show up in this show.
I still... That's true. Actually, third. There's that other lady who's coming in the second season who's reprising her role as the Flash's best friend and doctor friend.
I'm not
Doctor
familiar
friend?
with it. I'm not familiar
I don't
enough.
remember her. The original Flash, John Wesley Shipp, had a friend and romantic interest who was helping him out. She was a scientist where he was the legs. And she's not only playing the same role, it's the exact same name that she's using in both series.
What was the name?
It escapes me, honestly. I don't remember. I would have to look up the original there. I still love Mark Hamill's expression in this face. It looks like he's watching his career die in front of him.
Don't worry, he got it back with the Joker and Batman animated series.
I have heard 1,000. I have heard. Damn it! I was trying to make a Star Wars joke and I just failed.
1,000 souls crying out in anguish and then suddenly silence.
Except instead of souls, they were fans.
Okay, the other lady I was looking for, her name is Amanda Page. She's going to reprise her role as Dr. Tina McGee.
Okay.
She sounds like a red shirt on Star Trek, frankly. I know she went through the whole series, she's coming back, but that sounds like a red shirt name.
Well, McGee just makes me think of NCIS. So.
Yeah.
Last bit of DC media news we have is another Flash item. Robbie Armel, the brother of Stephen Armel, the one who plays Arrow.
Uh-huh.
He's been on this show as Ronnie Raymond, the character who eventually turns into Firestorm. He's made a couple of appearances so far.
Yep.
As what they call the Burning Man.
Yep.
But he recently put a pic on Twitter that says that they are going the full Monty with his role as Firestorm. Take a look at that. It's the first picture anyone knows of as the character in the TV series in costume. You'll recognize a familiar Atom symbol there on his chest. Not to mention the 3 rays, which I still don't know why that hasn't changed over time. It doesn't exactly play well, in my opinion, in modern comics. There's other ways to display the nuclear abilities. It's one of those things that's time locked. I know. It's like, Cyclops in that huge fight.
They can update it as like that's how he opens the uniform. Was one of those fold-over jackets.
I hope so. If it's that bright yellow thing, I'm done. I'm out. I can't stare at that for 40 minutes.
It could be orange. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did anyone else watch the Flash season finale? Or mid-season finale?
Yes, they did.
I have not. But go ahead and spoil it.
Well, I would honestly say that's the best hour that they've put up on that show thus far.
I heard it was good.
Yeah,
by a country mile, it was the most interesting thing they've done thus far. And it did finally reveal the mystery of the Reverse Flash. And do you want to know? Do you care?
I was hoping it wasn't that way. It wasn't going to go that way, but I kind of saw from the beginning.
Yeah, anybody that's going to scream at me spoilers, 2 things. 1, I'm going to do a countdown so you don't have it. 2, it's the fucking internet. What do you expect from me? 3, 2, 1, drop your earphones. The Reverse Flash is actually Dr. Harrison Wells.
Yeah, I saw that coming, especially with the name of Harrison Wells.
Well, I seriously doubt that's his real name.
Yeah, I guess it is.
I'm still going with... Well, I'm going with the theory right now that he is one of Detective Thawne's descendants. Like one of the Reverse Flashes in the comics. Eobard Thawne is a descendant of one of the other Reverse Flashes from a long time in the future. Which is why he wouldn't really touch Thawne. He just kind of pushed him out of the way when he was in the middle of his, punch... I don't know, what you call it, flurry?
Yeah. It was like, when I first heard that character's name, I realized, like, Henry Wells. Oh, God.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go with the theory that he's a descendant of the detective there. It was either that or for a while I thought he might be Barry Flash's future self. Or Barry Flash. Holy shit. That's the worst name ever.
Try again.
I thought he might have been a future version of Barry Allen for a little bit. Oh, frick. Okay. From there, we'll move into general media news. I have the second part of things you might not know or may have never known about Star Trek Season 2 from the original series.
Yay!
You're up.
I believe we left off with the last thing we talked about being that the main cast nearly went deaf while filming for the second time.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Okay. Let's see. Actually, no. There's more here. There's unused scripts. I know we did that. Storytelling about race. I think we talked about that a little bit, too.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Roddenberry. Okay. I'm confident this is where we left off. V, did you know that there were too many cats while filming?
Cats?
Cats. Felines.
I did not.
Okay, according to the story on IO9, quote, the episodes of Season 2 were routinely going over budget and taking extra filming time, and one reason was cat-related. The episode Cat's Paw had a giant black cat who chases the Enterprise crew around spooky tunnels, and the cat would not follow the script, no matter what they tried. Even worse, the episode Assignment Earth had 7 cats in it, representing Isis in her cat form. One of the cats was good at walking along a high beam. One cat was really good at sitting on the couch in Gary Seven's office. And one cat could be picked up by the actors. That cat unfortunately had a cold and sneezed all over Spock's uniform shirt. I have cat sneeze on the front of my shirt, said Leonard Nimoy, without quite breaking character as Spock, unquote.
That's brilliant.
This was something I'd never heard of. There was more than one spin-off they were contemplating at the time.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Quote, Season 2 of Trek famously tried to launch a spin-off for Gary Seven in the episode Assignment Earth. But also, Gene Roddenberry really wanted to launch a spin-off about a medical ship or a space hospital starring the character of Dr. Mbenga, who wound up appearing in a couple of episodes but never got his own show, unquote.
So what,
I don't know,
Space
what a black...
Nash?
Well, he was this is one of those things where he was a black guy in the 60s. That would have been late in the civil rights movement. That may have been a tough pull for networks
Yeah.
to take.
That sounds familiar.
It's only a theory. I have no idea what stopped it other than the Paramount probably saying, fuck, no. Besides, Star Trek only lasted 2 seasons, if I remember correctly.
3.
Oh, was it 3?
Yeah. As I recall, the number of episodes was 73 or 70 something.
I know. I remember in its period it was astonishingly expensive to make. They had real trouble with production budgets.
Yeah, the medical instruments for salt shakers.
Ugh. Well, we have... Did they debate the boundary of the galaxy?
Quite possibly. Could you be more specific?
Quote, in the episode By Any Other Name, the Kelvins want to take the Enterprise to the Andromeda Galaxy. So the ship once again encounters the energy barrier around the galaxy, as seen in the show's second pilot. The show's researchers, DeForest Research, pointed out that there's no astronomical justification for this idea, and in fact, Isaac Asimov had blasted the show for this notion when it first appeared, although Asimov later became the show's biggest fans. But producers decided to keep the barrier at the edge of the galaxy since it had already been established, and they could save money by refusing the footage from Where No Man Has Gone Before. They did, however, make sure that time travel to the Andromeda was accurate. Going warp 14, or 8,192 times the speed of light, it would indeed take around 280 years, unquote.
14?
Warp 14? I didn't know they ever achieved that.
I heard that the warp 10 barrier was like some kind of huge accomplishment.
Yes,
well,
it was.
no, but they were using slingshot technology, if I remember correctly. They were like slingshotting around the sun like they did in that movie where they went back in time with the whales.
Exactly, yeah.
Fourth one.
Yeah, I heard that warp 10 was a magical barrier to create time travel. I know you could go beyond that. But
that was really kind of invented post the original series. The warp 10 barrier thing, I mean.
We have one last item in the list of things you probably didn't know about Star Trek Season 2. One of the first Star Trek books was a disaster.
Oh?
Okay.
Yeah, have you ever read the book Mission to Horatius?
I have not.
Okay, quote, Mission to Horatius by Mac Reynolds was published in 1968 by Whitman and told a brand new story of the Enterprise crew. Unfortunately, nobody from the show had been given approval of the book, and it was sent to printers with a dull, derivative story. Plus, the manuscript described Lieutenant Uhura as a negress and referred to her singing a spiritual. Gene Roddenberry intervened at the last minute, and a new version was rushed to printers. Roddenberry wrote that Star Trek is a viable property and worth protecting, and I personally would rather blow a deal like his than see the property harmed, unquote.
Damn.
You know, it's one of those things where in 1968 you would almost expect a character like Uhura to be called a negress in some form.
Yeah, but at that point...
It was just starting to become... Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think this was the period of the end of the civil rights movement when certain words were finally off limits.
Well, I mean, I know that Nichols, what's her first name?
Nichelle.
Yeah, thank you.
Nichelle, yeah.
Yeah, I know she always talks about meeting Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would have been about that time.
It's an interesting group of factoids. You know, the fact that cats were screwing up the filming is just hilarious.
I love
Why
it.
would you even... You know, I suppose I understand ISIS, you know, you gotta have cats, but at the same time, it's like, cats are never good actors. I mean, that's why they
Cooperative.
always use dogs. You can train
Cats can be
dogs.
trained.
Cats can be trained. Obviously,
have
they
to
didn't
want to
bother
be
with
trained.
these.
But you could almost argue they had a dog on the set. William Shatner was sleeping with everything, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were stories of him trying to fuck one of the cats running around.
Actually, I'm not as sure that he was sleeping with everyone. I know he was married to one wife for like ever.
Oh, it's a Kirk joke. I wouldn't think too much into it.
I know, but I was just, anyways.
Might pull something. There is a movie that came out when I was a kid that still captures my imagination today, as shitty as it is. It's one of those things I wouldn't even call it guilty pleasure. It's just, stop insulting my shit. Steve, Jesse,
Mm.
The Last Starfighter.
Ooh.
Oh.
Heard of it.
Yeah.
It's an older story, V, from 1984 about a kid who is really good at one arcade game at his RV park. You know, this is about as white trash as it gets.
Yeah.
He's like in buttfuck Arizona or something. And he gets the high score. He beats the entire game. First time anyone in his region is known to do it. And that evening, an alien comes down in a flying car and recruits him to fly one of the starfighters he flew in the game to fight for the galaxy.
Yep.
Because of a series of events, every other starship was taken out and only his ship is left.
So kind of like the single-player version of Galaxy Quest.
Very good way to put it. But you're talking like 1984, back when CG was just becoming a thing.
Yeah.
I can still probably watch that movie without.
Oh, I
Losing
watch
my
it.
mind.
I watch it every time it comes on.
Yeah, this movie reveled in CG, and like I said, it's not a great film, but it's a fun film. It has great makeup, bad effects. I think that's the best way to put it. But, believe it or not, there are several people angling to remake this movie.
Doesn't surprise
according
me.
to-
Does not surprise me.
According to a story on IO9 by Meredith Warner, several people are trying to remake or make a sequel even to The Last Starfighter, but everyone has failed, including, at this time, Steven Spielberg.
Really? Damn.
Yeah. Earlier today, or earlier in the week, screenwriter Gary Whitta of the Star Wars film was mentioned, /Film's Peter Scrietta. Seth Rogen got into an interesting exchange, all three of them, about who had the rights to the project at this time. And Rogen is the one who, in a tweet from November 23rd, said, quote, Spielberg himself told me he couldn't get the rights after I told him how long I tried, unquote.
So who does have the rights?
Well, that's only in rumor right now. And the story goes on to say that Jonathan Butel, the original movie writer, still has the rights to it. Or at least the rights to remake or sequelize the movie.
Huh.
And the rumor goes on to say he doesn't want any other sequels or rewrites. I think that's the biggest mistake he can make. There's a ton of money to be made in just even a bad movie.
Yeah.
He would make probably a ton of money.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't have a great explanation. I really don't. It's curious to me, but he stands to make a lot of money if he would loosen up just a little bit. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But hey, it's his movie. It really is. We also have LARPing going on in Poland. We've seen how the Nordic states really have embraced cosplay as a means to teach and a means to really communicate with other people.
Which is the way it should be. Sorry.
Well, Poland is taking it to a different level. I don't know about a higher, but a different level, because they've opened what they call the Zocha College of Wizardry.
Okay.
I like it already.
You want to guess what cosplay and LARPing has done there?
Harry Potter?
You are precisely right. According to a rundown, quote, Zocha College of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Everyone knows of the famous Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, where students study magic for 7 years. It's a little less known that when wizards have passed their newts at the end of the 7th year, some of them go on to study at even higher schools of magic, the magical colleges. One of these is the Zocha College of Witchcraft and Wizardry, which lies hidden in the forests of Poland. Here, the students undergo a further 3 years of training until they finally take their spells, Senior Protective Enchanter's lifelong license. At this college, many young girls and boys have turned into men and women, ready for the life of witchcraft and wizardry that they are destined for. A fake university for magic users. There's actually a teaser trailer. It is, let me see, a minute 41. Dare we?
Of course.
God.
Shoot.
I am curious about this one myself. There you go.
So, wait, so who's doing this?
Poland.
Right,
It's
okay.
a group,
Yeah,
it's
no,
a LARPing group. It doesn't appear to be an actual college of any sort, but it does appear to be happening in a Polish castle.
I guess I was just thrown off by the fact that they actually believably tied it into the Harry Potter verse.
I have to give them credit for their writing. They put a lot of thought into this. It does appear to be people dressed up as spirits, too, for the house. You know, I don't know if this is one of those things where people get together for the weekends. I don't know if they're paying for weekends or maybe like a 2-week vacation. But it's a... I don't know about brilliant idea. It's a good idea, though. I see a lot of people having fun.
Certainly intriguing.
Yeah, they even have a dining hall set up. I doubt they put together the money for the kind of effect you would need for the ceiling of the hall. Oh my god. It's also in a scenic space. It looks like something great straight out of the books. It's pretty good. You know, the only issue I see here is that real life doesn't make it possible for you to do everything you would probably want to do in such an experience.
Just don't bring any Christian mothers.
You imagine that one guy who just pays the money to do this and starts nailing up crosses everywhere? Starts calling them heretics and all that nonsense.
He would probably be politely asked to leave.
I would hope so. That or, you know, Avada Kedavra or something. Oh, well, it's a good idea. I credit the Poles for doing this. It's very cool. Okay. We have a few what they call ingenious gifts for people who like science. You know, Christmas is coming up soon. And if you're looking for something to gift that nerd in your life, there's a few items here that IO9 has put together that may be perfect for them. The first up is the hydrophobic aerogel.
Huh?
You can own a piece of a substance that's 90% air, is completely waterproof, and is the lightest material known to humanity. You can buy a section of it for $60 at buyaerogel.com. I've seen this substance. It is supposedly very light, but it is an actual substance that is mostly air. The molecules in it appear to be very far apart. You can also get the Arduino starter kit. It's basically it's the modern version of Tinker Toys for nerds. It'll allow you to put together a processing board.
Oh.
With instructions on how to do it. Let me see. It contains a microprocessor, wires, resistors, switches, capacitors, and a few specialty items like a small motor and LED screen, and an instruction book that'll walk you through your very first project. As the writer puts it, I can make the light blinky blink. But it's $98.36 on the Arduino website. For the people you know who are fans of Assassin's Creed, you can buy a lockpick starter kit. It's by Makershed. It'll come in handy when you lose your keys, but it will give you a new appreciation for technical art of security. It includes tools and a lockpick guide for opening common pin tumbler locks. That's nifty. You also have the Little Robot Friends set. It's by Ready Made Robot for $74.95 or DIY Robot Kit for $49.95. You have 3 little robots you can assemble with speakers in them. And they have sensors, so they respond to external stimuli like light, sound, touch, and infrared from other little robots. The personalities are based on 6 characteristics on a sliding scale from chatty to blunt, brave to scaredy, and ticklish to awkward. Man, I wouldn't want that chattering on my desk 24/7. That might be my breaking point. How about build it your own Leonardo da Vinci models? Little wooden string models based on the inventions of Leonardo da Vinci, including his flying man and his odd helicopter design. They require no sanding or drilling and have a full range of motion. They are only $19.95 each at Lee Valley.
Sounds kind of neat.
DIY Kano computer, a Raspberry Pi powered Kano computer for kids to learn how to make their own computer and code music and games. It's $149. a MakerBot mini replica maker. It's a 3D printer for small people at $1,375 at MakerBot. Holy crap, no. There's several other things here, but one of the ones that stuck out to me was Dino Pet by Biopop. It is a small brontosaurus-looking sculpture, or probably other dinosaurs, that has water in it, and you can fill it with some bioluminescent plankton, so you give it a light shake and it glows. To me, that's cool anyway. You know, you can also buy people a Robo Roach kit where you can place an electrode on top of an actual roach and control its movements. That's my fucking nightmare.
Yeah, that's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple other items here, but I won't spend a whole lot of time on that. I just thought it'd be cool to put out some ideas for Christmas. V, Doctor Who fan?
Yeah.
Ah, there you are. I heard the mute. Well, Stephen Moffat recently dropped a bit of a thought bomb, really. He actually said out loud, not only can the Doctor be a woman, he thinks that the character's next reincarnation may finally be a woman.
I was thinking that, considering the latest developments regarding Missy.
Yeah, he said that gender itself is fluid for residents of Gallifrey. Something proven this past season by the Master turning into Missy.
Mm-hmm.
And Moffat told Wales Online, quote, he doesn't seem to register the fact that his old friend is now a woman, so obviously he doesn't think it's a remarkable thing to happen. We must assume that gender is quite fluid on Gallifrey, unquote. And he also told SFX, quote, there could easily be a female Doctor. I think the next time might be a female Doctor. I don't see why not. I think it's good to do that, unquote.
That would be
great.
Yeah,
I even have someone I want to cast as the Doctor, at least the first person off the top of my head.
Who's that?
She played a character, I don't remember the name of the actress, I can find it, but she played a character in Warehouse 13 called H.G. Wells. Yes, the H.G. Wells is female, but...
Okay. You know, I would have said Judi Dench would have been a great Doctor a few years ago, but she's done with acting. She's tired of trying to read scripts that she can't see anymore.
I can appreciate that. This is a younger woman, 30s, I think.
Okay. I know, V, you're also a fan of the Game of Thrones series.
Yes.
TV series. The next season is going to involve the Sand Snakes.
Mm-hmm.
They've agreed that there is a problem and a mistake. The costume designer said a mistake was made on the show regarding the Sand Snakes. And that's the fact that the Sand Snake's armor has nipples.
I think I heard about
from
this.
Batman Forever came on set?
Beg your pardon?
Someone from the Batman Forever came on set to do that?
You kidding? From half the 70s giant robot animes I've seen, there could be nipple armors. Goodness knows they had rocket boobs. According to The Cut, costume designer Michelle Clapton said that this, quote, you've picked a bone of contention. I'm not terribly keen on it. I don't see the necessity for it. You don't do it on men. And then somebody mentioned the Batman suit. Well, okay, yeah, that. But I wouldn't do it on men, and I don't really like the concept of it on women. Of course you have to have the woman's shape. That's fine. But nipples on armor is almost from a man's point of view, and there's something slightly cheesy about it, unquote.
They did in Gladiator.
Yeah, well, she said it wasn't a purposeful item. She said it was a mistake as a result of the structured molds they use on the armor. They sanded off to an extent, but they didn't do as much as I wanted them to. And as the show was rushing in production, Clapton didn't notice that the nipples were not sanded off sufficiently until they were already filming.
Oops. Yeah.
She says it's way more noticeable in set photos thanks to a trick of lighting than it is in the actual footage. She said, quote, I had the same thought as you. I was surprised when I saw the picture, but I didn't notice them when I was there. And sometimes you can't go back and change things, unquote.
See, this is why I love listening to commentaries and interviews and stuff. So you hear so much interesting things about what went wrong.
Well, going forward, I mean, everybody's going to be laughing that the Sand Snakes have an extra weapon. They just chest bump you to death.
That's a good one.
Now, we'll go back around because the next story has to do with the hack on Sony Entertainment we've alluded to a couple times. To recap, for those who may have missed the last show, there was a group called the GOP that hacked Sony and put a large amount of their information, including movies that weren't out yet on the internet. They also had details as to company confidential emails. They had the addresses and medical histories of several employees and their families. Last week, they also took to threatening the Sony employees if what they called the movie... I forget what it was called. If a particular movie they alluded to did not get played, but they didn't name it. We speculated last week that it may have to do with the interview because of the content of two inept reporters attempting to assassinate Kim Jong-un of North Korea.
Yeah.
Which was loosely based on an incident that supposedly did occur where a reporter was asked to assassinate Kim Jong-il during an interview. Now it's gotten further, and the Sony hackers have finally made their full demands. And it seems that the speculation was on the spot. The group calls itself the GOP, which we found out means the Guardians of Peace. And they have made it specific that they want the interview not to air, period. Their latest statement said, quote, "We are the GOP working all over the world. We know nothing about the threatening email received by Sony staffers, but you should wisely judge yourself why such things are happening and who is responsible for it." Message to Sony. "We have already given our clear demand to the management team of Sony. However, they have refused to accept. It seems that you think everything will be well if you find out the attacker, while no reacting to our demand. We are sending you our warning again. Do carry out our demand if you want to escape us. And stop immediately showing the movie of terrorism which can break the regional peace and cause the war. The war," it says. "You, Sony, and FBI cannot find us. We are perfect as much. The destiny of Sony is totally up to the wise reaction and measure of Sony. Their privacy. Amy Pascal, Chairman SPE, Chairman MPG. Stephen Moscow, President SPT." That sounds like... There are certain sentences that are written well and other sentences that do sound like, what I would almost consider the stereotypical comedy voice of Asians in American cinema.
Well, just broken English.
Yeah. So they made... they said that there was code that was... Or the FBI says there was code in it that mimicked some code that was used by North Korea. So if this isn't a North Korean entity, it's somebody that makes you want to think it is. And all this has to do with a Seth Rogen movie that, frankly, I don't think that this is propaganda to kill the leader of North Korea. This appears to be two idiots trying to do a job they're not qualified for.
Yep. Sounds like a Seth Rogen film.
Yeah. Well, he likes to do stuff where he's not the brightest fish out there. He's a good writer and everything, but he doesn't mind being the moron.
Which is...
It's one of those things where somebody's taking the movie way too seriously.
I can speak from my own personal experience that Koreans do tend to take things a little bit serious and out of context, but...
But you're South Korean, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, technically, you're one of the sane ones, I guess. Have you ever watched a state TV program from North Korea?
No.
Holy frick, dude. There is, it's fascist-esque completely. Everything in there is loud. Even the lady reading the news, she looks like she's 4 feet tall, but she is yelling as if she is the, one of Dr. Evil's minions in the Austin Powers films.
I like that image.
The last bit of general media news I have is that the Star Wars theme park attractions for Disney are to be based on new films.
Okay.
The plan that Disney has going forward is that they're going to start rolling out theme park rides for Disneyland and Disney World to coincide closely with the release of new movies that they're putting out. In other words, they're not going to put out stuff based on prior projects that LucasArts has done. They're going to put out stuff based on the projects they have going forward after they bought LucasArts.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Probably not a good way to go because then you don't have to argue rights with like 3 different parties who probably own the prior films.
Yeah.
Especially since Fox will own the original Star Wars for frickin' ever. That was a scary detail to come out.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone sold rights forever. I only have one piece of Marvel comic news, just one. It appears that Marvel Comics via Access is aligning their comic book universe with their cinematic universe.
Really?
Yeah, I take it none of you read Access 7?
Not yet.
Mm-mm.
I
Okay.
know.
Well, the inversion has occurred, and the Scarlet Witch is one of those people that's inverted. So she's been chasing Doom around the world, trying to rip his head off for what he did to her, and how his actions helped create the No More Mutants, and basically created, or actually it helped with Avengers Disassemble too. Doom is the architect who created the mess that the Scarlet Witch did through almost a decade of stories.
Damn.
Okay. So she's been after him. Doom is trying to make amends and make a better country in Latveria. It's a very strange juxtaposition. However, characters that were not inverted included Magneto and Quicksilver.
Really?
They stood in her way to stop her from killing Doom, because if she ever gets her brain back, she would never forgive herself. Probably true at this point. Here's the rub. The Scarlet Witch wanted them out of the way, like, terribly. Okay, especially Magneto, her father.
Uh-huh.
So she cast a spell that would break the bones of her relatives and burn their blood.
Oh.
Quicksilver jumped in the way of this, but it hit both him and Magneto. Here's the rub. Quicksilver fell down writhing. Magneto didn't move.
Oh.
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 So you get where this is going. Effectively, 5 to 6 decades of canon has just been destroyed.
Wow.
That's cool.
Now, I mean, it's an interesting story that has possibilities for the future. One, it really does make sense now why the cover of, or one of the covers of the new Uncanny Avengers volume has Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch on the cover with the title No More Mutants behind them. Because, obviously, now we know they're not mutants. Period.
Wait, they're not mutants?
No. If Magneto's not their father, then that means something else is going on. And he received these two children, if I remember correctly, after their birth. He wasn't there for it. He always thought this had to do with a dalliance he had with their mother. If I remember correctly, her name was Magda. He thought these were his children of shame. Now, the reason why I say they're aligning their universes is because it's entirely probable that the current Marvel Cinematic Universe, Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch, if you remember from the promo at the end of, was it The Winter Soldier?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I believe it was the Winter Soldier. You saw the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch writhing around in those two cells after just being monkeying around with Hydra.
Yeah.
If you remember, according to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Whitehall was in charge of special projects because Baron Strucker was off in another country doing something weird.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And Hydra, during this entire time, has been monkeying around with inhuman artifacts.
So they're aliens.
No, the Inhumans aren't aliens, they're altered humans.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Altered due to the Kree. Yeah, okay.
Pre-technology,
Yeah.
the Terrigen Mist and crystals,
Right.
yes. So it appears that Marvel is aligning their two universes in one aspect, making the Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch Inhumans.
Wait, 2 universes?
The cinematic universe and the comic universe.
Oh, right. I was thinking, like, something else.
Oh.
Not multiverse nightmares or anything. It does seem that Marvel is taking a step to make their comics more accessible to people who may be brought in because of movies. Some people will say this is Marvel trying to say, or Disney saying, fuck you, Fox, now we own these forever. No, you can't undo their comic history or the rights, but you can make it easier for people who aren't aware of your comics prior to come in and say, oh yeah, I know that. But I'm sure Rob Liefeld will be all over Twitter, stop fucking with me! Stop fucking with me! Speaking of the Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and the Humans, did you guys watch the season finale for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes.
Yes.
That was pretty nifty.
I liked it.
Did you guys pull out the two characters that were revealed by the end of the episode?
No. I would not know that.
No.
We now know who Skye is and who her father is, and they are existing Marvel characters.
Tell me! I want to know. Sorry.
Her father was referred to in the series as Cal. Okay? There is a Marvel character that fits his behavior named Calvin Zabo, Z-A-B-O. In the comics, his alter ego is Hyde. Mr. Hyde.
Oh.
The comic book origin, and we're going to say loosely here, obviously, is that he did take a serum that created a super strong alter ego. As of recent comics, he's almost Hulk in stature, and he's just this huge, mean, possibly flesh-eating individual. It's also known that in the comics, he had a daughter. Her name is Daisy Johnson. Steve, you remember that name?
I don't.
She was a member of Nick Fury's Secret Warriors. She was, for a short while, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she has since been in absentia doing Black Ops. She actually has a superpower of her own. Do you recognize the name Quake?
Oh, crap.
Really?
Yes.
Wait,
If you remember at the end of that particular episode, there seemed to be rumbling coming from nowhere.
so she can cause... Oh,
Seismic waves.
that's cool.
She shattered, in the comic books, if I remember correctly, she shattered bones of people who were standing in her way.
I like
And
it.
the comic book version of Daisy Johnson was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who was trained by the original Nick Fury. She does not take prisoners if she doesn't have to. Her greatest ambition in comic books was to be an Avenger.
Well,
Yeah.
She seems to be well on her way.
Yeah, it was too bad about B.J. Britt's character, Trip.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
see a future for him.
Well, in the first half of the second season, he did seem to be nothing more than story device or cannon fodder during the whole thing. I was wondering when they were going to get around to killing him. You know, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. 3, 2, 1, fuck you. But, you know, they did really underutilize the character who I thought had a ton of possibilities, but after some reading, I found out B.J. Britt had a ton of commitments that he was trying to fill all at once.
Oh, the actor?
Yes,
So-
the man was very busy.
well, at least he went out doing something pretty spectacular, I guess.
No, that's a good argument. Still, though,
At least he wasn't a red shirt.
Right?
I know, but a character with a lineage of his with the Howling Commandos, there were so many stories that could have been told. I was looking forward to it.
Howling Commandos?
Holy shit.
Wait, what?
Howling Commandos was a group of World War II
Oh,
guys.
let's simplify this. Did you watch the original Captain America film?
By original, you mean the first one?
The first Avenger, yes.
Yes.
He surrounded himself with a bunch of soldiers. That was his unit, right?
Uh-huh.
In the comic book, Nick Fury assembled that crew, and they were called the Howling Commandos, World War II Roughnecks.
Oh, okay.
And B.J. Britt's character on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a descendant of one of the movie versus Howling Commandos.
Huh. Oh, that's right. I remember that now.
Yeah. So, you know, I miss the character. I'll say that as much. But I'm looking forward to the second half of the season and trying to see where Sky Quake goes. Skyquake, there's a name.
Skyquake. I like it.
Coming to City of Titans near you. The only piece of DC comic news I have is one piece that kind of leads into something else. DC in February of 2015 is doing a digital first Batman Arkham Knight comic book series. It's going to be an in-continuity prequel to the Rocksteady Studios game coming out in June of that year.
Nice.
We're going to have an opportunity to catch up on the Rocksteady universe of Batman games and find out possibly where the Knight came from. The videos to that game are just making me more and more anxious to play it. I went out and pre-ordered it from Target this morning.
Oh, nice.
But the pre-order only cost me $1.
That's at a
And,
10%
really?
up to 50%.
No, it cost me $8. The pre-order only cost me $1. I put in $1. They gave me a card I hold on to for when the game comes out, and I bring the card back in. And as soon as I pay for the game, I get a $5 Target gift card to go with it.
Cool.
Well, that's a good way to do a pre-order instead of just putting all the money down at once.
Dude, not only that, with the pre-order, I also get the Harley Quinn DLC free.
Oh,
Nice.
nice.
Cool.
So I'm, you know, when you guys see me at Comic-Con, I might be bringing my Xbox with me. I'm still playing Destiny. I'm probably bringing my Xbox with me. I only have one piece of general comic news. You know, comic news in December is kind of light just because everyone's slowing down for the Christmas season. Not as many people spend money on comic books if they don't have to.
Yeah.
But we did discuss a little while ago how Rat Queens lost its artist because he was arrested for domestic violence.
Oops.
Yeah. Well, they Top Cow has announced that they found a new artist for the series. Stepan Sejic has moved in. He's a former Witchblade alumnus, and he also worked on Sunstone. He's a creator of it, actually. Now, Sejic has been on nearly every book Top Cow has worked on. because he's also been on Image's Shadow line. But he's not, repeat, not leaving his other work behind. The co-creator of Rat Queens, Kurt Wiebe, said, quote, "I'm excited to have Stepan bring the Rat Queens to life in his distinctive style, a voice that understands both the heart and humor of Hannah, Dee, Betty, and Violet. The future of the series is brighter than ever, and we're looking forward to getting new issues out to fans," unquote. I have a cover here. I'm going to send it to you. The previous Rat Queen stuff we've seen is a little bit cartoonish. We've also heard they're making some animated stuff out of it. This makes it a little more serious, but it also seems a bit tongue-in-cheek. I imagine that's the dwarf character we've seen before. It's almost like an inverted Luke Skywalker as far as gender. She's standing there blade high with, it looks like some kind of, I don't know about handsome, but burly orc wrapped around her leg.
Oh, is that an orc? I was thinking it might be another dwarf.
It looks like a dwarf to me.
Oh, is it? I have no fucking clue because I have not read an issue of Rat Queens, but the more I hear about it, the more I think I should pick this up. It sounds like one of those fun series where everything's upside down and you're just making fun of yourself and everything that goes with it. So I look forward to enjoying this very fucking much. We'll move on to Anime Japan news from there, and the first one is on a series that we don't enjoy, but it's in a format that will probably entertain me more than the others. You remember the Walking Dead escape at Comic-Con?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The one where I was huffing and puffing and pretend I knew how to run? Well, it turns out there's a similar game in Japan, but it's coming to the US for the first time. Welcome to Shingeki no Kyojin Real Escape Game.
Really? So you're running away from giants?
Yeah, for those people who don't understand what the frick I said and why my tongue tripped over itself, Shingeki no Kyojin is the Japanese name of Attack on Titan. There is a survival game similar to the Walking Dead escape that you'll be able to run away from Titans or pretend to be, whatever the soldiers are called and try to survive.
Dude, I want to play something like that.
The occurrences so far have taken place in Japan and Singapore, requiring participants to solve some rather intricate puzzles and discover the, quote, escape route within an hour. An arduous task only 10% managed.
Wow.
It doesn't say here necessarily where... Oh, I'm sorry. This is going on in San Francisco in February and coming to Los Angeles in March. I may have to do some scouting research. No, I'm not going to fucking run it, but it might be worth covering for the website at least. I'm also going to New York in April. That's actually a pretty good tour for a Japanese company. I could show you some pictures. I don't know in what context you put them in because it appears this happened in the Yokohama ballpark.
Shoot.
You want to see? There's one. Man, this place is just rife with people. This does seem like a Comic-Con level event.
Didn't you run through a baseball stadium?
Yeah, I did. I ran through Petco Park in the Walking Dead escape. Or, jogged or hobbled or jiggled or whatever the frick you want to call it. But as you can see by the pictures, this had some pretty good attendance. Especially the last one. This went on into the night. I wonder what these people are sitting around doing. I see them all with books or something, or some kind of board. But I don't really have context as to how that plays into the game.
They could be planning routes, I suppose.
It could also have to do with the puzzles they mentioned.
Yeah.
There's got to be, there's a good amount of people who probably showed up in those leather jackets with those green raincoat things. That's one of those things where it's like the Walking Dead escape. I'm not terribly interested in the central subject, but it could be fun just to do.
Mm-hmm.
However, to me, Attack on Titan is a much more disturbing theme to it. We also have a trailer for the latest Dragon Ball movie we've heard about. The second trailer has come out, actually, for Dragon Ball Z, the revival of F.
Oh my god.
And no, it is not the revival of fuck for you peoples.
My only exposure to Dragon Ball Z has been through Dragon Ball Abridged.
See, but that's a good thing.
That's not a bad thing.
That's an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the second season of Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z revolved around a villain named Frieza. That's what F is.
Right.
The revival of F.
Okay.
They've brought back Frieza. I'm not going to bother to send it to you guys because I know none of us here are Dragon Ball fans. I mention this because it's viable news, and there's lots of people out there who are. You're Dragon Ball fans. Power to you. Not my thing.
I could see the appeal, but yeah,
I don't know. I read the entire manga. The manga wasn't as bad as the anime.
Well, it's going to debut in theaters in Japan on April 18th. There was a false premiere that was put out that was April 25th that was leaked. It turns out that was debunked. But it's going to be the first DBZ movie to be viewable in 3D.
Now, is this
Another
going to be
reason
live
not to
action
watch
or animated?
It's animated.
Okay, thank God.
I mean, in 3D, all that means is you're going to get the punch-punch-kick combo in your face the entire time.
Don't forget the
seems
knees.
that
Don't forget the knees.
The knees are the break in the punch-punch-quick. That the punch-punch-kick. That's how you stop them from doing that. Knee them in the groin real quick, then you start your own punch-punch-kick. I feel like I'm reciting Tekken instructions here.
I don't know. I was kind of reminded of Parappa the Rappa. Punch, punch, kick.
Oh. That went straight to my gonads, man. Oh, Fred. Well, Fate Stay Night has gotten a revival because of the recent release of Unlimited Blade Works, which appears to be a retelling of the original. Am I correct in that?
I believe so.
Okay.
Probably a little closer to the game.
From the series, the Unlimited Blade Works, from what I understand, is getting almost universal praise. It has taken what was good about the original and not ruined it by adding more action. They've made an action-oriented, well-story-driven series, from what I understand. I'll probably pick it up now that US TV is on the down low for this season. But Aniplex is offering life-size stand-ups of the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works characters. Each of the standees from a selection of 25 characters will be life-size and in scale with each other.
Life-size?
Yes.
Wow.
That's...
they're going to range from 20,000 to 52,000 yen, or approximately $240 to about $580. The Saber one, which is arguably the title character, I don't know the metric conversion, Jesse, you may need to do this. 1,573 millimeters tall. I don't know what that translates to in inches.
I don't know either.
Oh my...
Let me Google it.
How many millimeters?
1,573 millimeters. I don't know what that translates to in feet.
1,572?
Yes, 1,572 millimeters.
Oh.
Or 1,573.
61 inches, so about
61 inches.
5 feet?
So 5 feet 1 inches. That would be roughly life size for a Japanese woman. Say roughly.
Yeah.
Don't send me hate mail that there are some that are 6 feet tall. We all have mutants.
Yeah.
I have a cousin in Korea that's taller than me. He's like 6'3".
Yeah, all my relatives are like 6 feet tall, and I'm 5'3".
Well, there's several characters that even have duplicates. One of the more popular female characters in the series, Ryder, has one where she is in a bent-over pose, not seductively, but an action-oriented pose that comes in at 1,588 millimeters, and one where she's standing up tall at 1,720 millimeters.
Yeah, she was pretty tall. 1,700 what?
1,720 millimeters.
So,
One
5'7".
Ones. Okay. The tallest one I've seen so far is 1,800 millimeters, and I don't know what character I'm looking at.
Not Berserker, because he was huge.
No, it appears his name is Seizu.
I think that was Lancer. No. Yeah, it might have been Lancer.
Okay. So, yeah, 1,800 millimeters is as tall as it gets. Probably about 5 feet 9, I would guess.
5'10".
Yep, 5.
Oh, okay. It was close. Not close enough to be good, but close. There is a new trailer out for a new anime that is supposed to be taking the slot of... taking the popular slot of Naruto, although that's huge sandals to fill. The series is called Ninja Slayer. It's based on a light novel, and I had to look it up. It's being done by Studio Trigger, who did the recent release of Kill la Kill.
Oh, okay.
The storyline is that there are a lot of ninja souls, ninjas of all different types they're functionally immortal, but they've been sealed away. Something happened to that seal, and ninja souls are, for lack of a better term, escaping into the real world and inhabiting bodies and starting to create havoc. One particular soul is attached to a man who lost his wife and daughter in a ninja attack, and it calls itself the Ninja Slayer, the one who's tasked with putting these evil souls back. Do you want the trailer?
Sure.
Sure.
It's hard to tell. Well, I wasn't going to say it's hard to tell how good it is. It's just it's one of those things that's hit and miss when it comes to animes. You're either going to really like it or you're going to hate it.
Yep.
There you go. I know it's a trailer, but the art style seems a little bit unfinished. It almost feels mid-'80s in some points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or mid-'80s to early 90s.
I
You know what?
I can enjoy
looking
it.
at this reminds me of Guyver.
I think its production quality is even a little bit less than that.
It's one of those things that's going to live and die in its story. Animes can get by with okay visuals if the story is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I make no guarantees.
I'll give it a shot.
Dead or Alive is a series of fighting games I've been a fan of for a long time, although I've fallen out of fighting games recently. Dead or Alive, though, is one of those things that's harder to own than Street Fighter, not because it produces sequels that for an extra $20 you get 3 new characters, but because for an extra $10 they'll give you like 4 new costumes.
Yep.
To get all the DLC in this game, you would have to spend a strange amount of money, and they've gone even further for the holiday season. They've added costumes for several characters to dress up in winter-style clothes, or lack of, if you're a female character. Reindeer stuff. One guy's shirtless with a gigantic red nose and a mask and chains for some reason.
Chains are sexy.
The most...
I'm the ghost of Christmas past.
I'm the ghost of horny midwife crisis. Something like this. This is one of their versions of a reindeer outfit for a female avatar.
I don't even recognize that character.
It's a new... If you remember, we had a story a while ago where they added it like...
Yeah, they
Oh,
added a shit ton
yeah.
of more characters. So.
No, they added one Gothic Lolita, a new blonde.
Okay.
I think she may have been called Lolita. I don't remember. How about this? Here's Lei Fong in one of the Christmas outfits they're hawking to you.
Okay. The idol
holy
outfit.
frick.
The Christmas idol outfit.
Yeah. But there is one that's even more disturbing than that, and I'm kind of surprised it made it past censors.
They don't have censors in Japan.
Okay, well, this is Helena Douglas. You remember that character. She's been around since DOA 2.
The opera chick.
Well, this is more of her than I ever expected to see in a non-doujinshi format.
Hello.
Whoa!
There's pictures of at least 3 characters on a story on Sankaku Complex of this costume.
Whoa!
Yeah. Gift wrapped for your pleasure.
Mm.
Got the wrapper. Just the ribbon.
When you said without the wrapper, there was almost a P. Diddy joke that came out of there. But that's too much for me. I mean, I'm one of those guys where my wife, she sees me watching porn, all she asks is, "So, who's in this one?" But, for me, that's too much for video games, because I could play this, and if one of those characters happens to be dressed in that at random, and my kids are walking through the room, I'm a dead man.
Yeah.
But Dead or Alive is not alone in fighting game controversy this week. Tekken 7 is also getting some flack because of a new character they're introducing in this game. Lucky Chloe.
Oh.
We discussed this a couple weeks ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
Tekken 7 has a new blonde character with pigtails that they're calling very American, although possibly also a catgirl furry. She's wearing earphones with cat ears are them. She has these weird long gloves that look somewhat like cat's paws.
Uh-huh.
Does this sound at all familiar?
No. But I have a feeling I was going for that.
I've read an article of this nature.
Yeah, we went over this slightly, and some people were just saying, well, now you're really pandering to the Americans, aren't you? Matter of fact, I have a 46-second video.
We're pandering to Americans by making a biased, extremely
It's a Japanese,
generic
it's a Japanese
view
plane.
of an American person, and we're pandering to Americans. It's like saying that.
Yeah, it's Japanese fans. You know how xenophobic some of them are.
I know. Just say that.
Here's a 46-second video to introduce you to the character of Lucky Chloe.
I don't know. I'm still amused by the fact that Encino Man became California Man when I was in Japan because they have no idea where the fucking Encino is. You're lucky if they know where California is.
Well, I'm looking at the video of the character. Number one, it looks like she's using a fusion of like the capoeira stylings of a few prior characters.
Yeah, I'm looking
And let alone her...
Here we go.
Well, other than the blonde hair, I would not call this character American. She seems to be like one of those Catgirl maids you would find in Akihabara or something.
Oh, I heard some other things about it. Like,
well, I'm sure there's lots of things people have to say about it. Everybody has something that they don't seem to like about this character.
Well, one of the things I heard about is like, it's not gonna see the character's not gonna be seen on American TVs.
Why?
Yes, it would.
Oh, I think the person that created the character or responsible for the game says it's not going to be for America.
Dude, if you had watched a single episode of Sons of Anarchy, you could get away with much worse than this character on American TV.
Well, you know what? You know what she reminds me of? Seriously.
What?
Paris Hilton.
I can see that.
I'm serious. I'm absolutely serious. And she's wearing the cat ears that we just kickstarted.
Well,
so and
well,
but yeah, it's a generic stereotype. Go figure.
Well, the main creator of the Tekken series, Katsuhiro Harada, has been getting some flack online, especially on Twitter, about this particular character. Now, let me see. The director of the game, I should say, Katsuhiro Harada. He first began speaking on Twitter about this character when he was sent to a link to a popular Neo GAF thread showing a lot of gamers poking fun at the character, saying things like, "God, I hate her already," "seems a little lazy," or describing her as an abomination. He took issue with what he saw as criticisms that stemmed from a Western perspective of the game. Western perspective?
Yeah.
Okay. His response on Twitter was, quote, "Because you don't need that character, right? It's a simple thing." And I'll say, don't worry again. I'll release another character for you guys. I said we've more new characters. Example, looked well-muscled, skinhead, very powerful attack. I don't like this idea, but if you need it. Unquote. The fuck is...
I'm assuming he was assuming that it was Western or American people complaining.
It seems he's assuming it's either Western people or people with Western attitudes. He may also be trolling. It's the internet.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
He may also be saying, so you're not going to accept it unless it has huge muscles, and it has six-pack abs? It's one of those cultural differences that I'm not sure plays out well on the computer screen. The Japanese seem to consider masculinity a spirit above all else, whereas Americans tend to worry about, body size.
Guilty.
Which is absolutely true. But the thing that both cultures seem to miss when you're barking in this respect is that technically a well-rounded man needs both of those things.
Yeah.
You need spirit and a body to back it up. We've seen the Japanese in their love of Yoshiki. The guy's got huge spirit. Saw two of his best friends in his band die, okay? Still playing really good music. A lot of spirit. Then on the Western side of things, you got Arnold Schwarzenegger. Almost no spirit, but muscles forever.
Yeah.
It's just one of those differences that if we're not going to respect it, stop playing around with it. Video games is one of those places where you're going to get a lot of mixed messages. If you don't like it, stop playing it. Stop bitching about everything just because you don't happen to like it.
Yeah.
Also in anime and Japan news, are you guys familiar with anything called Bakemono no Ko?
It sounds really familiar.
It's a series about a relationship between a young boy and an obliging beast man.
Okay.
Wait,
What?
A young boy and what?
Not heard of this?
A
A beast man.
Oh,
An obliging beast man.
A Viking.
Obliging.
Ah.
okay.
Obliging.
Quite frankly, that description alone sounds like it's drifting towards the BL yaoi area, and no, I don't know. But
I have a 32-second trailer.
no.
It shows almost nothing. It's a bunch of views of what appears to be a young waif. And I see a large pawed hand reaching down at him, and I don't know. He might be moving in for a kiss. There they are dancing. I don't know shit about this, honestly.
Yeah, I have no idea either. I thought it sounded familiar, but no, it's not sounding familiar now.
Well, here's an image. This appears to be a promo image. I didn't see this in the trailer of Bakemono no Ko.
Okay.
Doesn't appear to be anything horrible. I just have no idea what the story is other than he's an obliging beast man. I don't know if that means he lets him sleep in his house. I don't know if that means he lets him use the toilet. I don't know if they eat out of the same silver dog bowl. I don't know what the frick is going on here.
No idea.
Yeah, okay. Last bit of anime in Japan news I have is that a new game called Infinite Stratos vs. Colors was announced. The Infinite Stratos series is getting a PC game called Versus Colors, allowing players to assume the role of any of the show's lovely ladies, or the highly feminine if less lovely generic beta male protagonists, if they prefer, and take part in peerless mecha-on-mecha combat.
Interesting.
So you can be any of the girls in the game, or the girly man in the game.
The girly man.
You know, the main character.
Yeah, I don't see him as very girly, but whatever. The project has kind of stalled out ever since they went on hiatus and then came back, so kind of surprises me that it's even still going.
I don't know. Maybe there's a new call for harem animes, but I watched the first episode of the second season, and that was enough. There were too many type B images in there for me. When two of the characters got sucked into working in a maid and butler cafe, that's like, okay, all I need to know.
I don't know. The light novels were pretty good until, like I said, it went on hiatus, and after that I was kind of like, eh.
Yeah. Well, I have some general nerd interest news here for you. First off, we have a story involving Spider-Man toys that could turn over a 50-year-old Supreme Court ruling.
Okay.
We have Stephen Kimball, who entered into a patent agreement with Marvel and for creating a Spider-Man web shooter type glove. You know, a glove that shoots some silly string out of it. I think we've all seen this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now, after the patent ran out, they stopped paying him royalties. Okay? This is due to a 1964 Supreme Court ruling in the case of Brulotte versus Thies Company, which made it illegal to collect royalties on an expired patent, and Kimball is headed to court to challenge that ruling. The Supreme Court did agree to hear the lawsuit, even. It's going to enter the court sometime in the spring. If that's actually overturned, can you imagine the money that's going to flow from companies to all these different toy makers?
Oh.
You can bet that Marvel and thereby Disney is probably going to put on a strong defense of this particular one. Just because oof, man, that could end up paying a lot of money to a lot of people if this is overturned. Not saying that it's bad or they don't deserve it. That's a lot to pay.
Yep.
This was an interesting study. According to IO9, there was a researcher who found out that the color of your coffee cup could influence the taste of your coffee.
That doesn't really surprise me.
So, what color makes it taste less like shit?
Right.
I don't know if it goes that detailed. Let's see. The journal Flavor, which had Australian scientists who sought to learn if our perception of coffee could be influenced by the color of the cup from which it was drank.
Oh.
The results suggest this may very well be the case. In the first experiment, a research team led by George Van Dorn, thank God it's not Van Doom, that would have been a whole different movie.
Or Van Dam.
Discovered that white cups enhance the intensity of cafe latte beverages compared to clear mugs. More specifically, the white cups appear to influence our perception of coffee in such that it tastes more bitter. So apparently, Steve, you need clear cups.
Huh.
The researchers conducted a second experiment because during the first one, they used cups of varying shapes, which they worried might have influenced the results. But having mugs that were physically identical, aside from color, did not change the results. Coffee was rated being less sweet in white cups when compared to coffee in transparent and blue cups.
So, what about blue cups?
Coffee in blue cups made it apparently taste sweeter than in white cups.
That's why I like blue cups. Dude, my whole life is suddenly... Well, not quite.
Well, Mayo9 pulled out the summation of the article. It's a paragraph. Hang on. Quote, both experiments demonstrate that the color of the mug affects people's ratings of a hot beverage. Given that ratings associated with a transparent glass mug were not significantly different from those associated with a blue mug in either experiment, an explanation in terms of simultaneous contrast can be ruled out. However, it is possible that color contrast between the mug and the coffee may have affected the perceived intensity/sweetness of the coffee. That is, the white mug may have influenced the perceived brownness of the coffee, and thus in turn may have influenced the perceived intensity and sweetness of the coffee. These results support the view that the color of the mug should be considered by those serving coffee, as it can influence the customer's multisensory coffee drinking experience. These results add to a large and growing body of research highlighting the influence of product extrinsic color on the multisensory perception of food and drink, unquote. One of the studies alluded to showing that a red strawberry-flavored mousse presented on a white plate was perceived as being 10% sweeter and 15% more flavorful than when the same food was presented on a black plate. So our palates are affected by what we see and what we're served.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that leads me to guess that the taste of coffee can be affected by the emotional spectrum. We need a Green Lantern.
Not yellow, not red.
I don't want to fear my coffee. Wait, I don't drink coffee. I don't want to fear their coffee. There's a new exhibit of iconic science fiction props out there. Seattle's EMP Museum has dedicated most of its square footage to rock music and the like when it comes to their exhibits. But the venue also has a steady stream of exhibits dedicated to pop culture. Now they have until March 2015, Icons of Science Fiction. They're calling it the Infinite Worlds of Science Fiction. It's an interactive exhibit with over 150 props from movies and TV in 3,500 square feet. Something tells me the Hollywood Sci-Fi Museum might want to give them a call.
Yeah.
The presentation, a partial list of it, includes a proton pack and Ghost Trap from Ghostbusters, the Dune Sandworm Head, Luke Skywalker's Star Wars lightsaber, Klingon robes and weapons from Deep Space Nine, an egg from Alien Resurrection, Six's dress from Battlestar Galactica, and a full-scale T-800 endoskeleton from Terminator 2.
Wow.
They also include short films, original short films, behind-the-scenes looks at creative process, and interviews with artists, directors, and authors, including George Lucas, Anne McCaffrey, James Cameron, Ronald Moore, and Jane Espenson.
2 names on that list I'd love to chill with. The others I don't know.
Well, the Navy did show off a new piece of tech. They have a laser that can take out boats and drones.
Really?
Yeah, I have a short video involving it. I'm not going to give it to you because I took a look through it. It's not a visual laser. You're not going to see like the Yamato fire battleship class beam weapon or anything like that.
Lasers actually displaying visible light, it loses power.
Yeah. So it's an infrared laser, but the video I saw showed it able to disable a boat from a long distance or down a drone in flight.
Interesting.
So it's called an LAWS, Laser Weapons System. They did some field testing in the Persian Gulf, and apparently it went extremely well. It can disable UAVs, burn out the engine of boats, detonate rocket-propelled grenades across a range of adverse weather conditions.
Wow.
Man, talk about new warfare, right? It's the first such laser to be deployed and is a smaller version of 100 and 150 kilowatt weapons to be deployed aboard ships in 2016 or 2017. Sounds like they're going into full production. Now all we need is Avas.
No.
Oh, did you guys catch the news that the Pirate Bay's been shut down?
Yep.
No.
What?
Yep,
The
everybody's
Pirate
gone.
Bay was hit by lawsuits by Sony and a couple other companies regarding copyrights. And rather than fight this particular group of lawsuits, the owner said it was about time to shut down the Pirate Bay. But according to Variety, the shutdown of the Pirate Bay has had virtually no effect on digital piracy levels. People just moved on to different sites.
Of course.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, it doesn't say where people went.
Again,
it does say
probably
that
a good thing.
It does say for the 6 days ending on December 11th, the top 5 pirated movies were Maze Runner, Guardians of the Galaxy, Fury, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Lucy.
I've heard of the action ones.
Lucy was
the
pretty
top-
decent.
Yeah, the top 5 pirated TV shows over the same period were The Walking Dead, Flash, Arrow, Sons of Anarchy, and Homeland.
Sounds about right.
So, Yeah, it says the thing we always knew. You know, if there's a will, there's a way, and people have big wills when it comes to watching shit for free.
Yeah.
Or watching shit now instead of waiting
there
for
you go.
Netflix to, you know.
Well, there's a Power Ranger that wants to fight a wrestler.
Which one
Okay.
and who?
We've all heard recently that CM Punk has signed a new contract with the UFC. He hasn't decided on his weight class, but he's moved on from wrestling to become a fighter. He's 36 and says that the window for him to do this is very small. And Dana White said that it's a good opportunity to increase buy rate. The guy has his own fan base outside wrestling. Now that that's been announced, a lot of fighters have come out of the UFC to challenge him to fights, although it hasn't been announced what weight class he's going to be. Training is still ongoing. Because of an ongoing prior perceived feud, the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank, through Instagram, has sent out his own challenge to CM Punk. Yeah,
Wasn't he
Jason
also
David-
challenged by Nathan, whatever his name?
No, Nathan Barnes is after Dolph Ziggler.
That's right, Ziggler.
Yeah. Now, Jason David Frank is a 7th degree black belt and an MMA fighter, and he wants to meet CM Punk in a fight. He said, quote, "I like CM. This is just a professional call-out," unquote. Although in several other conventions, he dared CM Punk to a fight while he was still wrestling. You know, I'd almost say Dana White should sign that, not because it'd be a great fight, but just because that's the kind of thing where people would tune in just for the freak show factor. The Green Ranger versus CM Punk! You could almost hear the chants of the fans and stupid signs being held up everywhere and shit.
Well, not to mention, you know, it's like, what if he appears in costume?
You think that tracking shield will protect him?
I think he'll be the little dagger.
Wouldn't that be the way to end the fight? He's knocked on his ass, suddenly whips out the dagger and starts blowing a tune into it.
I can see him doing that too.
You guys ever wanted to own a Stargate?
Nope.
Sure.
Not really.
All you need is a program and a 3D printer.
Okay, explain.
Using a PrintSpot simple 3D metal printer with gray and some transparent PLA material, someone has created a Stargate.
I assume a replica that doesn't actually go to other planets otherwise.
Well, yeah, I'm sending you a picture that I'm sure the center of it is full of CG. I don't believe that it's actually going to open with ripple, shimmer, water and shit. But what you see of the outer ring was made via 3D printer.
Neat.
Along with some LED lights. Now, I'm going to send you a different one. It's a GIF. Because believe it or not, that thing doesn't just sit there. Take a
Oh,
look.
don't tell me it turns.
Oh, that's so cool. I
It
want
doesn't
it.
just turn, it lights up. You can lock chevrons in place.
That's amusing.
You know, I could see making one of these, putting it on my desk, and for half an hour just going, "That's cool," and then after like 2 hours of listening to motors work, I'm going to kill it.
Right. I think the centerpiece with all the symbols actually is just a free moving thing.
No, it actually does spin on a motor.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I can see room for that in the base.
Well, let me see. It also has a NEMA 7 stepper motor to drive the inner ring and a 5mm NeoPixels to light up the chevrons. The whole thing is driven by an Arduino Uno with an Adafruit motor shield using an Arduino sketch I wrote and am still tweaking. There you go. It's a thematic room decoration. It actually does spin the wheel on its own.
Cool.
We've discussed a couple times graphene on the show. That wonder material that's like a millimeter thick but is about as strong as Kevlar.
I don't recall.
This doesn't sound familiar at all.
No. But
It's only 10 to 100 nanometers thick. And right now they're working on applications to put it in body armor. It's only 1 atom thick, extremely flexible, eternally stretchy, conductive, and self-cooling. It could also be used to make video screens as thin and as flexible as paper. Super thin cybernetic devices that can be grafted onto living tissue, and electrically conductive transmitters that can repair damaged spinal columns.
damn.
A
Nice.
team from Rice University became the first to subject the material to extreme conditions of high-speed ballistics, but because of the size of the graphene patches is so small, a laser was used to accelerate a microscale silica bullet at a multi-layer graphene target. You know, graphene is very strong, but it's hard to make.
Right.
According to Chemistry World, the bullet was propelled into stacked graphene sheets at supersonic speeds of up to 2,000 miles per hour by the gases produced by laser pulses rapidly evaporating a gold film. The team calculated the energy difference of the bullet before and after to determine the energy absorbed. Neil Bourne, the director of the National Center for Matter Under Extreme Conditions in the UK, who was not involved in the research, described the technique as very exciting. They have taken a standard of laboratory ballistics configuration and demonstrated its utility on the microscopic scales. Graphene was able to absorb up to a 0.92 millijoule per kilogram of ballistic energy in the test, with cracks forming around the impact zone. By comparison, steel targets only absorbed up to 0.08 millijoules per kilogram at the same speed. So this stuff is literally 10 times stronger than steel.
Yeah, I've read about it before. It's awesome.
That's amazing.
We could
It's a whole lot.
we could build a space elevator.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that would be a very good application for it. Last bit of general nerd interest news I have is that a team at Bristol University used an ultrasound to create three-dimensional shapes in midair that can be touched and seen.
Ooh, that's cool.
Pictures.
It's what's called a haptic shape. It's not giving me the URL. Actually, I have a video. There it is. Haptic shapes in midair using an ultrasound. That's insane. Non-contact tactile feedback for 3D shapes. Wait. So, if this can be used in home applications, this makes Sword Art Online that much more possible.
Oh, crap.
It makes the thing that Fitz and Simmons use on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like plausible.
Holodecks.
Holodecks. Oh my.
Camera, lighting, and transducers. That's insane. So this would be localized air vibrations if they're using ultrasounds, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The video goes on just to show what kind of patterns they can produce. But the possibilities here are just crazy. I wonder how long it'll be before they can create full 3D models.
Mm-hmm.
So, using the ultrasound machine, it appears that they're taking like a mirror image of the object and projecting it over the area and using the ultrasound to create a tactile experience to go with it. That has a lot of possibilities for future tech, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to push on from there because it goes on to a bunch of stills. There's no more video, but that's a really interesting idea. Glad to see it's producing in such a way. Let's see. From there, we'll move on to the what the fuck news we've got. And we have some interesting variances on several things going on. Can you believe someone tried to sell somebody a defective invisible Link amiibo?
Okay.
Huh?
Eh?
A defective invisible Link. You'll like this story. Somebody put it up on eBay. Or, yeah, I believe it was eBay. What they called a defective Link amiibo. You know, there's a lot of defective amiibo showing up. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
Not in huge quantities, but enough to make it curious. He called it an invisible Link. When you went to the link, you found an open blister pack.
Wow.
And nothing inside.
Someone tried to buy it?
Someone tried to sell it. An invisible Link. In other words, a non-existent amiibo.
Yeah.
So no one bought his shit.
I assume not. The link has been removed from eBay. It's amazing if someone actually tried.
Oh, someone paid $400 to get an Xbox box of an Xbox.
Oh, wait. There's a new link here for what someone is calling a super invisible amiibo. It's a picture of nothing. It's up for 99 cents currently and ends in 4 days.
Oh, someone's trolling.
Ah, no shit. Everybody's got to try and be a funny man. This ended up in what the fuck, not because he did anything terrible, but because people take things way too seriously. I'm going to send you an image here of a guy who tweeted out this particular photo via Reddit. He gave it the title, Just Being a Dad. And you see a picture of him sitting with one of his daughters. It looks like he's playing video games. Another one is sitting at the table where he has his feet up and is doing his nails. It looks like in a very bright pink.
Purple, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it looks like there's a few colors going on the other foot.
Yeah.
Okay. People have gotten upset with him.
For what?
According to a few people online, they gave him shit because it looks like he's ignoring his kids while playing video games.
But what are you gonna do? Like, constantly be staring at your kids? There's
nothing wrong with this.
I
know. I mean, he's there. He obviously has an awareness of where they are because he's keeping his feet still for his daughter to do his toes.
Yeah, I mean...
The other one's sitting right there with him. A few other people have argued that how can you be a real man when someone's painting your toenails? Fuck.
Who cares about that?
No, he is being a...
people
No. I'm going to fight that and say he is being a man. He's taking care of his kids. He's...
I just don't understand
Bravo.
why toenail color has to do with what type of man you are. I mean, the guy knows exactly where they are.
And for those who say he's not paying attention to this, bullshit. Haven't you heard of fucking multitasking?
Right?
I think this is better than just sitting there reading a book and having that odd silence in the house where you know you have kids but nothing seems to be happening.
Yeah. I mean,
That means they're dunking dogs in toilets and shit.
He's entertaining both kids. One's watching him play games, the other one's just doing his toenails.
I didn't say I disagree with you. It's just people decide to pick a bone with this guy for tweeting out one picture, and he even admitted he doesn't do it very often. Just because he's sitting there and letting somebody do his toes, or because he's not looking directly at his kids at all moments. It's one of those strange hills to die on, man. I don't get it.
Those people are idiots.
Agreed.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let me move you to the other end of the scale. This is a what the fuck that made me happy. You ever guys seen? I sent you an image of a statue of Neptune that's sitting out in England, in Whitley Park. You guys ever heard of this?
No.
Okay, you can see that it's built with some kind of opulence. This thing was put out there for a particular reason, right? The statue was placed in the 1800s. See anything unusual there?
Oh, really?
Okay. I'm going to send you a second picture. Tell me what you see now.
Green moss?
Yeah, it looks like moss or lichen.
Algae?
Okay. Well, this was put out in a house in the 1800s by a guy named Whitaker Wright. He was a businessman who was convicted of fraud after floating bad loans.
Uh-huh.
In 1904, he took his own life via cyanide pill on the day of his sentencing. But his house had a few odd details, including this thing. Now, this was built in the 1800s, and that light is not coming from an LED system. You want to know what that light is coming from?
Algae?
No. Take a look at this picture. You understand now.
Oh.
Huh.
Oh, it's the top of an underground thing.
The man built an underground ballroom underneath a lake on his estate.
Nice.
That's kind of neat.
Now, some company does own this. I don't know who owns the house, but there's a company that apparently owns this piece of property. You know what? I would pay serious coin to drag cosplayers through this. This place is amazing. I mean, I would have that minor tweak of fear of what happens if one of those glass panes comes out, but at the same time, a party down here would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of details as to where the place sits, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, just need to clean up the algae a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, the underwater ballroom is now owned by an entrepreneur named Gary Steele, and it's just empty. Why would you leave this empty?
Right?
I wouldn't even say like throw raves here. This could turn into the premier party place in England if you lease it out and clean it up. You wouldn't even have to scrub the windows of that dome, frankly. The algae helps with the ambiance. Just retrofit it and clean it up. I think it's awesome.
I agree.
Also, in the scale of what the fuck that has to do with humans, Pablo Escobar was a big Colombian drug dealer, usually cocaine, right?
Mm-hmm.
His hippos are running wild.
Hippos?
Hippos. Pablo Escobar had a very serious thing for animals. He had the equivalent of a small zoo on his property by the time he was caught. and he was killed in 1993. The government seized the estate at that time, and some of the animals died because nobody knew what to do with the zoo. Others were relocated to proper zoos. The hippos stayed behind because they were very large animals, and no one seemed to have the facilities to take care of it. And he had one male and one female hippo, and those hippos did what hippos do. Now the hippos are beyond the state, and there's now 50 to 60 individual hippos from the last 2 decades.
Oh my.
Now animal control is having trouble figuring out what to do because hippos, for those of you that are not aware, these are mean fucking animals.
They're very, very territorial.
Yeah.
And they're running into problems because not only are they vicious and they're doing certain things to local ecology, but the public around the area is so animal welfare minded they don't want them to kill the hippos. So apparently, the idea going under right now is to tranquilize some of the hippos and get straight.
Meep.
It says, according to Earth Touch editor Kelly Starzak, quote, efforts to find a workable solution to the hippo problem have also been snarled by public sentiment. When a hippo escapee dubbed Pepe was shot by authorities in 2009 for posing a danger to the public, the move sparked an unexpected backlash. Wildlife officials are now trying more humane tactics for cutting the hippo population. Last month, veterinary experts from Columbia CES University set up a makeshift operating theater on the property of a local farmer. Their mission? Hippo sterilization. After luring 2 escaped hippos found roaming the nearby area with carrots, the vets guarded the animals and successfully sterilized them.
Okay.
You know, all of a sudden I have the distinct idea that this is not what Elmer Fudd meant when he said rabbit season. Oh, man. I mean, if you're a big game hunter, you need to pay money and go to Colombia, because you can hunt hippo there, I guess. Maybe not kill it, but you can hunt it. Let's head back into the realm of stupid what the fuck. There's a Harvard Business School professor who's threatening legal action against a Chinese restaurant for an overcharge. Not the first time we've heard of such a story, correct?
Right.
You ever recall anyone doing it for $4?
No.
Really? $4?
Yeah, this is a Harvard Business School professor. His name is, I believe, Ben Edelman. The issue was he ordered Chinese food from an online menu of a local restaurant, okay?
All
They
right.
sent him his food. He looked over the bill, and he was charged more than he expected. About $4 worth. No, total $4, okay? And it was a $53.35 order of shredded chicken with spicy garlic sauce, sautéed prawns with roasted chili and peanut, stir-fried chicken with spicy capsicum, and braised fish fillets, and Napa cabbage with roasted chili. Number one, he's either really fat or he's ordering for more than just himself.
All right.
Now,
Or he's
found on his
ordering
bill
for his
that
entire week.
Right. Now, he was overcharged $4 because, as he found out, the menu online was outdated. The prices had changed. So he contacted them, who first offered, and they first seemed to offer him a credit. Okay?
Okay.
They wanted to refund him $3, a percentage of. I guess for them it was probably like processing fees they were trying to retain. And his response was, quote, in the interim, I suggest that Sichuan Guard refund me 3 times the amount of the overcharge. The tripling reflects the approach provided under the Massachusetts Consumer Protection Statute, MGL 93A, wherein consumers broadly received triple damages for certain intentional violations. Please refund the $12 to my credit card, or could you mail a check for $12 to my home? Signed, Ben Edelman.
All right, rules lawyer. Here we go.
Not just rules lawyer, anal retentive to the point of being a dick. Steve, you were about to say something when he said $12.
Well, how much was the bill for?
$53.35.
Okay.
The overcharge was $4.
All right.
So he demanded $12 in accordance with a Massachusetts statute that probably isn't exercised all that often.
Well, not to mention the fact that it's specifically stated when he said that intentional.
Yeah, I know. This could just be a simple mistake. I doubt they were quoting prices as they were going through the order, you know?
Well, especially if it was online, there would be no one quoting prices.
Yeah. Now, when a member of the restaurant offered to refund him the entirety of the original overcharge, not $12, but the full $4, okay? The guy sent another response that just really showed what kind of prick this Massachusetts asshole is. Quote, "It strikes me that merely providing a refund to a single customer would be an exceptionally light sanction for the violation that has occurred. To wit, your restaurant overcharged all customers who viewed the website and placed a telephone order. The standard and typical way to order takeout. You did so knowingly, knowing your website was out of date and that consumers would see it and rely on it. You allowed the problem to continue, in your words, for quite some time. You don't seem to recognize that this is a legal matter and calls for a more thoughtful and far-reaching resolution. Nor do you recognize the principle, well-established in applicable laws, that when a business intentionally overcharges a customer, the business should suffer a penalty larger than the amount of the overcharge, a principle exactly intended to punish and deter violations. I have already referred this matter to applicable authorities in order to attempt to compel your restaurant to identify all consumers affected and to provide refunds to all of them, or in any event to assure that an appropriate sanction is applied as provided by law."
Oh my.
All right, he's a complete total asshole, and whoever takes his case is just as bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is usually the moment where a lot of businesses will just pay the $12 he asked for just to get this asshole away from them. The restaurateur, a guy named Guan, to his credit, he basically said he'll wait to be contacted by those, quote, applicable authorities, unquote. And while Edelman was continuing his barrage, they'd already updated their website. So in other words, fuck you and bring a lawyer for your $12. See how much you spend for your $12. The whole exchange has gone viral, and frankly, usually when people are overcharged, I hope they get their due. In the case of this guy, Edelman, fuck you and die. That's way too overblown of a response for $12. How about a nice conversation instead of a whole bunch of bullshit? I mean, Steve, Jesse, you've seen me work. I can get a nice refund out of people for stating my case, saying I'm sorry a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get money back.
Yeah.
This guy was way overblown.
I just, to somehow become the people's representative. Yeah, fuck you, dude.
Yeah. Thanks for speaking for nobody. Also, on What the Fuck, sometimes we have things that just amuse us.
Oh, boy.
I have a Halo What the Fuck. Because somebody applied a different skin to the Master Chief while they were playing a round of, I'm gonna guess the Master Chief collection. Take a look at that.
Oh, boy.
Tell me what's wrong with the Master Chiefs there.
I'm just looking at the title. I'm still getting through the ad. Oh, the hell.
What happened to him?
Somebody played around and decided to skin the Master Chief with the body of what is known in the Halo universe as a Scarab, a gigantic, 3-story tall walking tank.
Oh my god.
I love the fact that he's shooting that giant green beam of death too.
Dude, look at the way it runs, though. It looks like it's struggling there.
Oh gosh.
That doesn't look like somebody running around just creating havoc like you would expect with somebody with that big gun. That literally looked like a Scarab going,
I will be honest, it almost feels like I'm watching Godzilla.
I was strangely reminded of Grimace.
You want it better? Wait till a little further in the video. It drives.
Seriously?
Drives?
Out a Scarab.
I shit you not, it drives. I mean, you see it laying waste to the stuff in the sky there. Oh no, it's firing at a pelican that's coming in. And what do pelicans usually bring for the Master Chief?
Oh god.
See the warthog?
I thought you meant he transformed. I was like,
No, look.
this is so ridiculous.
I love the way the feet stick out of the back or the front of this thing. You almost want to hear Snoop Dogg playing as he's riding around in that.
I'm curious what it looks like on the damn mongoose.
Well, the mongoose wouldn't be included in this because it's Halo 1.
Oh.
No, they dropped off a mongoose. He saw it.
No, there's no... Oh my god. Yeah, this is obviously not Halo 1 then.
Halo 2?
And there he is riding around in the... Well, there he is riding around in the gunner's seat. No, I think that's a warthog. Oh, yeah, I think that's a warthog.
No, that's a mongoose.
That is the mongoose, okay. Yeah, he's riding bitch on the mongoose. And look, there he is getting into one of the locusts. Looks like he's in one of those rider seats you find in like kid swings.
Someone has a good imagination or loves Transformers.
And the locust shoots through its neck.
Maybe we should have a funny bug section.
I'm gonna. That's
Oh
a
no,
3-minute
we'll
mark.
get
I'm
too
gonna-
many we'll get too much of the goat simulator if we do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna end it there because
Excluding the goat simulator.
I could watch that too long, and that's a 6-minute video. Now, not all What the Fuck news is positive. We had a convention over the last week that was attacked, it seems. And I'm
What?
using the word seems because I still don't know what the details are of this. There was a convention in the Midwest. It's in Illinois. It's called the Midwest Fur Fest. Want to guess what happens there?
It's
Furs?
a furry place.
Yeah, it's a furry convention. V, are you familiar with the term furry?
Of course I am.
I had to ask. Some people, the
Okay,
lady that
fair.
read this in the local news affiliate freaked out. Okay, she had never heard of this before. Now, Midwest Fur Fest was interrupted, and the hotel that it was being held in had to be evacuated. Investigations are still going on because they think that the local populace of the convention may have been targeted in a poison attack.
Oh shit.
Someone left
Good.
a substance in one of the stairwells that included a large amount of chlorine. As a result of the gas, which was partially chlorine gas, 19 people were hospitalized with no minor complaints, or with minor complaints. No serious injuries were reported, but they still don't have a clean motive or identity of who did this as of today, at least as far as I know. This is a serious problem because as much as I disagree with furries, I'm not going to attack anybody.
Yeah.
And there's two likely explanations, one of which is benign, one of which is stupid. Well, the stupid obvious one is that somebody wanted to gas furries. Maybe they thought this was an animal control joke of some sort. I don't fucking know. The other one, which may have occurred, but is just stupid for causing this much, is you may have a guy who, for all we know, was trying to use chemicals to clean out something in the hotel and had a spill. It's not unheard of.
Yeah.
And if you're going to create that much of a problem, if this is some low-level, like, minimum wage employee, he's not going to cop to this. That's his job. So we either had a horrible accident or we have some fuckhole that thinks it's funny to gas people.
Yeah. Going back to our previous one, if you keep watching the video, it goes full size. Now it's reminding me of Godzilla.
I don't need to go there. I just hope they figure out what happened here. Let me see. I have a list, or at least I have pictures on IO9 via Vincenz Mikolos of the strangest cell phones ever sold.
Okay.
I'll just send you the URL to the whole story because there's some stuff here that just defies explanation. The second item in the list is called a goldfish lemillion, designed by Emmanuel Guay in 2006. It's an 18-karat white gold and 20 carats of VVS1 diamonds.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
I know, I'm staring at this just wondering, why would you ever need this? This thing's going to be in your pocket most of the time. It's not something you can brag about.
It's what you call bling.
If you drop it, oh.
Now, I think the Marlboro 508 is a much better phone. It's a Chinese phone. It actually looks like a pack of cigarettes, and it has space in it to hold cigarettes.
Nice.
This is like some James Bond shit. That's your cell phone. A pack of cigarettes. You imagine how much people in this country would freak out if you reach in and get cigarettes. Oh my god, you're a smoker? Oh hell no, I'm just answering my phone. Boop, hey.
Oh, that's the complaints from parents. Just, I don't want it.
Oh really?
The
If you wanna
racing
complain from
car.
parents, yeah, the Ferrari F1, that would be a parent complaint to me. Not to mention, I wouldn't want to walk around my life with a toy car in it. Imagine digging that out of your pocket all the time. Nokia made some bizarre shit. This golden Buddha thing is blowing my mind. 24-karat gold paint job and a real piece of jade shoved in it. They were sold in China for $1,750 5 years ago. Yeah, Buddha really believed in opulent pieces of gold like this, you know? Although I can see why it didn't get sold much out of the country. In the center of the dial, the enter button is a He's
Yep.
a Chinese character that was used by Nazis.
Actually, it's not just Chinese. It's all over the world.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, I see why it wasn't sold outside China. The C99 Starfish thing is ugly, although I bet that's expensive too. It's another Chinese phone. There's one phone here that looks like it looks like birth control pills.
Which one?
The Zelbri, it's a pink one, about a third of the way down the page.
Yeah.
It's like a pink and gray compact.
Oh, yeah.
It's like birth control pills. The one underneath it, the Vertu Signature Cobra, was designed by a French jeweler. The fuck, people?
And the one above
Well,
that
it's-
pink one looks like a thing for diabetics to use to test their blood.
Well, that's the one Jeremy said looked like birth control pills.
No, the one
No, he's
above
talking
it.
about the one above that, the blue and gray one.
Oh.
He's right, it does look like an insulin tester. Maybe Zelbri just made a whole bunch of phones for people who didn't want to admit that they had cell phones.
To make everyone think it's...
Yeah. The last bit of what the fuck news I have is it's a what the fuck for a different reason. Sauron's eye cannot be displayed over Moscow City.
Really?
I am not fucking kidding. There was a plan by a building to project a giant version of Sauron's eye on a skyscraper over Moscow City. The reason why it's not occurring is because of complaints from the Russian Orthodox Church.
They're pretty powerful, so yeah, doesn't surprise me.
They were going to install a giant orb done up to look like the Eye of Sauron on top of a skyscraper in the International Business Center. It was in anticipation of the Battle of Five Armies release in that country. The plan was abandoned when officials from the Orthodox Church heard about it and were not too fond of an overtly evil imagery lighting up the city. The archpriest, Veselvad Chaplin, said on a radio station, quote, "Such a symbol of triumphant evil rising above Moscow and becoming one of the tallest objects in the city. Is it good or bad? I'm afraid it's mostly bad. One shouldn't be surprised if something goes wrong with the city after that," unquote. Won't let Sauron's eye happen, but you put Vladimir Putin in office? That's fucked up. That would have been the greatest bit of advertising ever, really.
Well,
No,
I could see how people would suddenly be like, okay, so now you're basically saying that we're living in Mordor?
no, just Mordor adjacent. You know, you can claim one of your cities is the Great Hall, and they're just Mordor is invading the border. Oh no! Or even better, you know, just stand in front of it and hold up a ring, see if it follows you. I'll stop. I swear, I'll stop. The assignment for this week was a video one. We decided to look backwards a couple years and check out the Dredd movie with Carl Urban and a couple other actors. This was released in 2012. It had some fairly decent reviews, although it was a low box office from what I recall. Initial opinions?
Well, I've
It was
seen it
better than
before.
Stallone's version.
I love it.
You love it,
I
V?
love it. I saw it in theaters. This is like the fourth time I've seen it now.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know you followed it that far. What do you know about Dredd other than the movie?
Nothing. I haven't seen the old movie. I haven't I haven't read the comics. All I knew is what my boyfriend had told me about the setting before we went to see the movie.
Well, Judge Dredd is an interesting invention, if I remember correctly, of English comic books. The storyline is a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Dredd is one of a few of what's called street judges, patrolling Mega City 1. The location of the city depends on which publication you're reading or watching. But, the legal system as you know it is, I don't want to say collapsed, it's been transformed and sped up. You know, judges now patrol the streets, there's no juries, and judges will send out, I guess you could say, judgments or sentences with little to no provocation and no backup other than their word. But they are considered the absolute law of the land. It was, in my opinion, a well-told story. It was a fast story.
Yeah.
It was extremely well paced. There wasn't much wasted time, in my opinion.
Well, it covered what was my primary complaint about the Sylvester Stallone film. Sorry, I was staring at one of his Judge Dredd pictures with his mouth like wide open, and it was bothering me. Sorry, Stallone. His movie was not well paced, and a lot of people, when they watched that first film, said that whole section where he went to the Cursed Earth could have been ripped right out of the movie because it really dragged down the whole pacing of the entire thing. I can completely agree with that. It was very much the worst section of the film. The current version with Carl Urban dealt with none of that, thankfully. It only had one major detraction for me, and that was the story I had seen in it. I had just happened to see like 2 months prior in The Raid Redemption.
Yeah, that's something I had heard. I haven't seen that movie either, but...
I've seen The Raid Redemption. I saw it first, which is probably why I rated it a little higher in my opinion, but The Raid was a much more brutal movie. I mean, The Raid was just modern technology, a SWAT team trying to escape the building that's entirely owned by criminals. You're talking about guys who are using machetes and fire axes and shit, trying to break their way out of there. But back to the movie, the cast was very strong for the most part.
Carl Urban does more acting with the bottom half of his face than Kristen Stewart does with her entire body.
Damn!
Wow.
Yeah, I did a good one.
Well, now that we're covering Kristen Stewart's entire body, I'm sure they both have the same amount of scalp.
Oh, God.
But if there was a surprise in the movie, I'd have to say it was Olivia Thirlby.
Oh, yeah, she was great.
She played Anderson, right?
Uh-huh.
You know, it's a hard line to toe in most films when it comes to female heroes. They're usually either emotionally screwed up, or they're just terminally meek. You know, it never seems like they break out on their own. The character of Anderson, although at times she seemed out of her depth, she never seemed out of her range.
Yeah. She has a very vulnerable aspect to her, and yet she never actually hesitates when it comes to kicking ass.
In the movie, she did shortly once, and then it almost never came up again.
Yeah.
You know, when she had to go through her first
assassination.
execution.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, unless you're a psychopath or a sociopath, you're going to have a little bit of pause the first time you execute someone.
Mm.
Yeah. And I watched the movie a couple times in preparation for this, and that's one thing I picked up on the second watch through, was that early on in the movie when when he's getting ready to take her out, or when they're getting ready to do the drug bust at the start of the movie, he asks her if she's ready, and she just hesitates and says, "Yeah, I'm ready." And he tells her, "You don't look ready." But towards the end of the movie, when they're getting ready to go up against the final villain, Mama, she's pulling up an automatic, she's cocking it back, and he looks at her and says, "You ready?" And she says, "Yes, sir. You look ready."
Yeah. I think she's an excellent role model, personally. I think...
And that's something the writer did really well, was that he had a strong transformation of a strong character and never made her seem truly weak. Even when she was captured, she never looked like she was about to just beg for anything.
Yeah.
Guys, you're silent for some reason.
Well,
I'm not sure what we can add.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I know nothing of Judge Dredd. I'm just as I'm more clueless because I haven't even had anybody talking in my ear about it, and the only movie I've seen is the one that we're discussing. So,
I don't know. I want to know if we're missing any bases when it comes to the character. Miss Thirlby did a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed her role in it as well, because, yeah, she wasn't just that, damsel in distress. She wasn't, this total butch, I'm just as manly as the next man out there. She played a not
normal
a real
woman
character, but, yeah, a believable character.
Well,
yeah.
Go with Carl, the Dredd character is like, he did loosen up throughout the course of the film.
Not terribly,
Not
though,
terribly much, but he did loosen up. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I get a little leeway here.
I sort of saw it as like a 50-level character sidekicking a lower level character, like in City of Heroes terms.
I thought thought throughout the course of the movie he was being hard on her, not because he expected her to rise to that level, but to see if she could see between the lines as to where their role in the society was.
I also think
it's...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say, at the beginning of the movie, he gave her several clear edicts that would cause her to
fail.
To go through her first day and fail her attempt to be a judge. And even though she lost basically half of those items, or lost half of those precepts that he gave her, in the end, he didn't give a shit. He just wanted to see if she could hack it.
Yeah.
He said,
I think his main impetus seemed to be, can I give her enough pressure where she'll break, or will she just see past what doesn't matter?
Right.
And the character did happen to find that enforcing the law is the most important, even if you don't agree with what others' interpretation is of it. Because he gave her pretty clear edicts on what he thought needed to happen. She went another way, but it was still acceptable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't even privy to, like, the thing with how she executed the husband of the people that housed them very briefly.
Mm-hmm. Although you could see in that second elevator scene when she was lamenting the shooting, he could guess.
Yeah, fair.
That's one of the few things about Dredd. Even though he was a 90s character, he was one of the few that he wasn't railroad straight like the Punisher. You know, he does have a lot of nuances. He just doesn't speak his mind ever.
Yeah.
You know, you have to guess a lot of the time as to what that character is thinking, because in the comic books, he never removes that helmet. Ever. No one's ever seen the top half of his face.
Yeah, which is one of the beefs that everybody had with the Stallone version.
Yeah, although that wasn't one of my beefs, because the writer of the book often said when he imagined the character, he imagined Stallone's face. So
somebody's breathing in their mic.
I'm trying not to.
Well, it stopped. We'll move on a little bit to Lena Headey as Mama, or Madeline Madrigal.
I thought she was great. Yes. Fuck. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the makeup that they did on her. The scarring in particular was interesting.
Oh, I thought it was pretty interesting how they made it look like it was sunk in.
Yeah.
You know, I need my villains to be large in movies, and my one real complaint about her role was that she was very quiet throughout. And it's a personal thing, believe me. I understand that a lot of times menace doesn't come from volume. It comes from action, and this character had that in spades. It's just one of those cases where I want my villains to be
around more,
towering in stature.
So
not tall, just somebody that's in charge, and nobody even comes close to matching that kind of impetus.
Yeah, I suppose we could have gotten into more of that if we had spent more time in the movie on, like, her politics with something.
Yeah, if you're looking for a spirit animal in the film, I would say hers is like a water moccasin. Quiet, silent, poisonous, but not very loud. But,
I like that analogy.
It's a theory, you know. I'm sure people are yelling at it. No, she's more like a freaking bird of prey. You never see it coming, dude. Okay.
I love the music in this film. Like, this is my this, Tron Legacy, and, like, The Lion King are my favorite soundtracks.
It was a very strong original soundtrack. I had not heard the music in it anywhere before. It was mainly electronica and dubstep.
I didn't pay much attention to the music, to be honest.
You might on a second. Well, I guess I really like that kind of music, like the heavy bass kind of electronic drum.
I like it in moods. If I'm looking for background music, I like rock and roll. But when I'm trying to pay attention to something, yeah, heavy bass helps.
Dub and electronic is kind of a hit and miss with me. Mostly miss, considering what I've seen on YouTube.
You know, one person who's not listed in the Wikipedia article who deserves a really strong shout-out would be the set designer.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever designed the backgrounds for this film, holy frick, it really did feel like a completely different time and place.
You're right. You're totally right about that.
I'll be honest, watching the film, especially with the set design and the gradation they had on the actual overall film, it reminded me I was watching the original RoboCop for some reason.
I can see that's the same kind of dilapidated future, and that's totally grantable. It was one of those things where, as I was watching the film a couple times, it was very obvious it was a soundstage and they built the building, but at the same time, they put a lot of work into making it feel like just an industrial wasteland.
Yeah.
Or, I guess you could say, like Detroit, where RoboCop grew up.
I thought they showed us the set very well with that opening scene of when the guy got pushed over the railing.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, that's... I have a fear of falling, and 200 flights of stairs, man. Just holy shit.
Yeah.
In slow-mo.
I know.
There was a tiny little bit that you guys probably haven't seen the show, the Snuff Box.
No.
But
No.
do you remember that song that the tech guy was listening to? No, you wouldn't.
Oh, you mean when he's twisting wires together and making sculptures?
What? Okay, so the tech guy with the weird eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same guy we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time we see him and like the second time we see him, he's watching this music video, and it's the Snuff Box, which is like this kind of obscure British comedy starring Matt Berry and some guy I forgot. And it's just it's the weirdest, like most random thing they could ever see in a film. I was so thrilled. I don't know. It's a weird thing to bring up, but it's just...
Oh, it's fine. It's not like we know. It's hard to say who else to talk about because the film really does bounce between just 5 characters primarily. There's Dredd, Anderson, Mama, one of her drug dealers, Kay, and arguably somebody I think was named Caleb.
Is that...
Caleb, who was played by Diobria Oripe. Or Opere, excuse me.
Are you talking about
Remember
the tech?
No, Gabriel, if you remember, was lieutenant that Mama had up until about halfway through the movie.
Oh, that's right.
The gruff white guy who was thrown over the rail.
Yeah.
He was doing okay in the role. It wasn't very big. But Wood Harris is Kay, the black guy, the drug dealer, had a much bigger role, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. It was very understated.
It was. I will say that whoever wrote the role of Kay did it very well because you could have fallen into a lot of stereotypes about urban drug dealers and
he might,
forms of speech and
he would have said
behavior patterns.
Man a lot, or
yeah,
I don't know.
He didn't suddenly look up and say "my nigga" or anything like that.
Mm.
Didn't use a whole lot of swear words either, but he was still menacing to a certain degree.
Yeah, he was composed, relatively composed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The only thing that was kind of aggravating was that even though he's here between 2 judges who had obviously survived this building for over an hour, which is scary enough, he really didn't seem aware of what kind of problems he had.
Well, that must speak to his arrogance.
More than likely.
I mean, he did try to shoot her. Okay, so that's one issue I have with the movie, honestly, is why didn't they all gather together and all shoot Anderson? Instead of
Mama told him it was his problem to clean up.
Yeah,
he brought him.
Fair.
Yeah.
He didn't die when he was supposed to.
I think that was her mistake.
It was, but
Again,
I don't know
arrogance.
if anybody.
Yeah.
It's hard to know if anybody at that time was aware of the self-destruct mechanism in those lawgiver pistols.
That's true.
Because I imagine the few people to undergo them have not talked about it.
No kidding. That was cool.
Also,
it was something I would. Well, what in the first movie they just shut down when other people tried to use them, not explode. I don't know what they do in the comic books.
Explode makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the main guy because we have not talked about Carl Urban yet.
I was amused. Because my only other thing that I've seen him in is, of course, Star Trek as Bones, and I'm just like. It kind of threw me for a second, but I think he did a really believable job as Dredd, and he really kind of sold that just standoffish, no nonsense, I am the law kind of attitude. I eventually just forgot about who was actually playing it and just kind of watched the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him in both, and I've also seen him in the one season of the Fox TV show he was in, Almost Human.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he's in Aylmer. He's Aylmer in Lord of the Rings, and I've seen him in several other things.
I will go out on a limb here and say that this man is the Swiss Army knife of sci-fi films. He's
Oh
played
my
all
God,
kinds
yes.
of roles, and people keep losing him.
Chronicles of Riddick, he was in that.
You know, he's done all
Oh,
kinds of
yeah,
stuff.
I guess
He's
he
not
was.
typecast. Yeah, he's not typecast at all. The guy is everywhere. Nobody seems to appreciate it.
I know. I think we should create a shrine to Carl Urban. That's a very small.
But the thing is, his works are so random and out there. What would the shrine be besides a statue of him?
Well, maybe we should.
What would it consist of?
I don't know. I'm just thinking that we should start a thing where we appreciate underappreciated actors.
He'll be dressed as Amber with a bionic leg, holding up a tricorder and a lawgiver.
I love it. No, he'll be wearing the Dredd helmet.
Anyone listening to this show, if you could draw stuff, draw that.
I have some artist friends who might have fun with this.
But he did do gruff very well without it getting overblown. Whoever directed the first film, and I often think that the writer and director are the most to blame for what the mess that became.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the director of the second film or if it was Urban himself, but Dredd stayed so understated and under the radar because even though he sounded like he was doing a Clint Eastwood impression, there was something so quiet and understated about all his deliveries. So he wasn't just this powder keg of emotion like Stallone was. You got the sense after the first couple scenes he was in that you're just waiting for him to go insane and kill someone. You just don't know when that moment is.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that he wasn't indestructible.
Yeah, that's another favorite. Like, both he and Anderson took a shot, and they went down when they got hit.
Mm-hmm.
Until they got fixed.
Well, both times they were definitely hit with weapons meant to crack someone down.
Yeah. Like, that is my biggest beef with a lot of action movies, is I'm like, he wouldn't still be walking.
Yeah.
Watch Die Hard.
Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder, 20 shots, and all of a sudden he has a soliloquy he has to deliver.
Yeah.
No, he did a good job from start to finish. I wouldn't say I needed to see him with a helmet off, but I almost wish he went with a little bit less body armor at one point. A lot of characters in action movies go through evolutions. Dredd didn't hit much of an evolution.
I don't think I would want to see that in that movie, but if there were a sequel...
You know me, I like character progression.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's why I prefer TV shows to movies, generally speaking, because there's not a lot of room of character progression in a movie.
Well, Carl Urban has often said that Dredd, if you want to see a sequel of Dredd, tell the movie studios. They won't let them do it. You know, the movie studios will not greenlight another one of these.
That's so...
disappointing.
Yes. I want to fix it.
There was an October 2014 announcement that the executive producer, Adi Shankar, was producing an unofficial spin-off online series based on the Dark Judges.
That's not the same.
But I don't know anything about that. Now, the movie itself did not do well in the box office. It earned $27.6 million from markets outside North America, and only $13.4 million inside North America. It grossed a total of... it made a total of $41 million. In the UK, it made only £1.05 million, or $1.7 million.
I wonder why.
Wow. What came out that year? Or what came out with it? Will be the question.
I don't know. It's a serious question as to what's wrong. It could be a lot of people remembered the last Dredd movie and just went, oh shit, no.
Yeah.
I honestly think it just wasn't really advertised very well.
Well, it had two things going against it. It had memories of the prior film, and it had a high R rating.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, young people can't go see it. But the film critically did pretty well, with an average of a 6.5 out of 10 in general review aggregation. On Rotten Tomatoes, it made a 78% rating.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I don't know what that generally trends to, so...
78% of people that watched it enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah, the Kirk Cameron bad film, Saving Christmas, made a 0 rating.
Yeah, I remember that.
This one on Rotten Tomatoes made 78%, above average.
Cool.
Metacritic gave it a 59 out of 100, which indicates mixed or average reviews. CinemaScore said that the grade moviegoers gave it a B on a scale of A+ to F.
Cool.
And the movie premiered in 2012 at San Diego Comic-Con. So critically, the movie had a solid following. It didn't reach an audience in its run in theaters.
Well, if preparing Comic-Con, maybe this late summer blockbuster, and up until Guardians of the Galaxy, late summer.
Well, it was originally released on September 7th, 2012. First aired on July 11th at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, school might have been an issue with that.
Well, I don't think school is the issue. I think what the issue is sometimes, I'm going to call it the Kevin Smith effect. See, Kevin Smith first brought his movie Mallrats to Comic-Con, had gangbuster reviews, but as Smith himself pointed out, now you've cut your audience because most of the people interested in paying money and starting word of mouth have already seen the movie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was just going to say, they shouldn't have unveiled it at Comic-Con.
Right, because your core audience, the hardcore comic book geeks, have just seen the movie.
Now, I
Now,
personally would have
but-
spread the word, but...
Yeah. Now, word of mouth at that point would have been good, but only about 30,000 people probably would fit into the largest halls to see what in the hell just happened. The rest of them are outside buying stuff, dressed up, and taking pictures. That's why I call it the Kevin Smith effect, because you've just shown off your movie to your core constituents and the ones most likely to shell out dough to go do it. So that's a guess, though. I can't guarantee that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it probably impacted it. It's probably not this whole thing. It's probably like all the things that we mentioned that it could be. It is all of them. To some degree.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, though, it's amazing that in the 2 years since this movie has come out, how technology seems to have leapt ahead of where half the stuff in Dredd was. You know, some of the early images were like kids playing video games via this large headset on their head, and you know the schematic terminals in the middle of certain floors and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it does seem like technology's already kind of jumped beyond that point.
I think something a lot of people forget is it's possible for technology to be lost through massive
also
wars and stuff.
Vacuum tubes.
Not vacuum tubes were not lost to war; they were lost to PlayStation.
And I don't know how far in the future this is, or I'm given to understand that there was a lot of war in this world, so...
Yeah, there was a nuclear disaster. I don't think this one actually detailed what year it was supposed to be.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
The original comic book was produced in like the late 80s, and it was in the series called 2000 AD. So I can only guess what year they think it is now, or what they put in the movie.
3000 AD.
Thanks. Let's see. I will say the movie was pretty well paced. There was only one slow section in the whole thing when they managed to break outside the building, call for help, and then run back inside.
Yeah.
And they kicked it off again right away.
Yeah, and then it went right back into shit. Do you think the violence was over the top? Because I don't know why this earned such a high R. I thought this was moderate as far as violence.
Yeah,
I think
I
there was a
don't
lot
know.
of blood and gore.
It was a lot of blood and gore.
Yeah,
It was
there's-
comparable. It jumped out at me because, like, the one that I always base it off of is, like, the original Terminator. That one made me flinch when I was a kid just from all the gore. RoboCop 2 to a certain degree. And
Yeah, Terminator and RoboCop are shown on network TV these days.
I know, but they do edit out some shit. Like actually showing him digging into his eye to get the bullet out in the first Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
They cut that. But
Okay.
but yeah, I don't know if it's really that high of an R though. I mean, it seems comparable to those. There's bits where I'm just like, and then there's others where I'm just like, okay, it's standard action.
The hardest part for me was when Mama got thrown over the edge and was just watching that come down. It was just like, I couldn't watch. Like, I actually, like, I like action movies, but I flinch away from the super gory stuff. And this time I managed to watch most of the movie except for that time, so...
I always have issues with human suffering. The one part of the movie that made me flinch were when Anderson was scanning Kay and found the memories of skinning those 3 hustlers.
Oh yeah, that was difficult too.
But thankfully that was only like half a second and it was already gone.
Yeah.
So about the time I feel like turning away, it's done.
Right.
Let me see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to go through about this movie. The one section that really was a fun surprise was when Mama came up with the idea to call 911 for help and came up with the corrupt judges.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that was kind of touched on in the prior film, but never really delved into, because that was all political corruption. This was just actual monetary, you know, fuck you, I'm getting paid first before I die.
Right. I like how all of them were resolved.
Oh yeah, they knew what the role was. There wasn't any second guessers. There wasn't that wormy guy who ends up helping Judge, and as the team is taken down, they all knew what they were going to do.
Yep.
And I thought the best.
Sorry.
Because they knew that
that
there's no way for them to get out of it once they've committed to it.
Yeah, and I thought the best dialogue involving that crew was when they met Mama face to face. 1 million credits. 1 million credits is what what this judge is worth. Do you know who this is? No, I do. 1 million credits.
Yeah, that was great. I also liked the part where the female judge was like, "Let me go after her."
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
she had a perfectly good reason, except she didn't know the Anderson psychic, of course. So.
Yeah. Well, that was the really good thing, was that these judges had very good tactics and they were solid fighters, but they really had no idea what they were up against.
Yeah.
The first one in charge, obviously, he knew who Judge Dredd was, but the secondary character they had no info on, and that hurt them.
Mm-hmm. The second guy
The only thing they
almost
probably
got
knew
Dredd.
was Rookie. That's
Yeah.
probably the only thing they knew was Rookie.
Mm-hmm.
It always sends up certain flags.
And that was kind of the best part about it, was you knew that during this thing he had to be running out of ammo, and by the end of that fight, as soon as those 4 judges walked in the building, I go, "There's your ammo dump."
Yeah.
I
Thank you
even
for all
love
the
that
pretty
they
shinies.
even actually took that into consideration, because most of these action movies just don't even care about the bullet count.
Yeah, I know, which is really aggravating.
It's aggravating in some respects. I kind of appreciate the John Woo version where he says, "I don't show them reloading because I assume you know they reloaded."
Well, yeah, there is that, but I mean, it depends. Like, if you're in a situation where, okay, yeah, they're going to be able to go back and get more bullets, that's fine. But if you're in a situation where you're not going to be able to do that, then it makes more sense to pay attention to your bullets.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you don't have to see them reload every time.
You know, it's just the John Woo version. You don't see them reload, but there are white doves that fly through every scene.
No. Only the cool scenes.
Oh yeah, spinning jackets and shit. Nick Cage on a bender. Fuck that.
Unless
Yeah.
it's like deliberately over the top, like shoot 'em up.
Hot
Oh
shot?
god,
I haven't seen that one yet.
that's a Top Gun movie. That's something else. If you're gonna go that far, just go Top Secret. Man.
Oh, fuck.
I
Les
think we
chocolate
covered most of the
mousse.
major beats of the film. Frankly, I would adore it if this movie came out with a sequel.
The only thing
And
I would like, well, I guess, do we know how? I guess there isn't very much of the world that they show to have it be true to the world.
well, that's the thing, though, is that as they said in the opening soliloquy in their version, this mega city stretches from like Maine to freaking Alabama or something. So there's a lot of territory to cover here. You know, going from section to section, you're in a completely different place. So there's a lot of city to explore, and I would almost say that, frankly, if you could get the financial backing, you've got enough material to make a spin-off movie just about Judge Anderson. The two characters don't have to cross paths again.
That's true. I would love to see that character again.
So I think the movie is well worth a sequel. The problem is whether or not some fat shit with a whole lot of money as well would think so. You know, and the only way this movie's ever going to get a sequel, given what the box office did, is if a butt ton of people went out and bought the movie.
So, everyone who's listening,
Yeah, we've heard there are thousands of you listening to the show. Go buy the movie. Check it out.
if you don't like it, you can always return it.
Yeah, speaking
Oh,
of which,
come on. You know, even with Pirate Bay being down, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I need a favor from people listening to this show. I need Twitter followers.
Oh, yeah, I saw that Facebook announcement.
Yeah, I have 2 people willing to come on the show if we can get over just 100 Twitter followers. Right now we have 40.
40? I thought we had
And
60.
I know... no, we have 40.
Okay.
But if we can get over 100 Twitter followers, I have 2 people willing to be interviewed on the show. First off, I have Keith Apicary himself, Nathan Barnett, who has agreed to come on the show if we can get over 100 Twitter followers.
Wait, who?
Nathan Barnett.
That sounds...
You need to watch just Google Keith Apicary or go onto YouTube and...
Yeah, go on YouTube and look up Keith Apicary. He's well worth an interview. The second person, and I'm actually surprised that it got this far, Peter David himself has agreed to come on the show. If we can get over 100 Twitter
There's
followers.
that sound again.
That one sounded a little distorted, like it was going by in a car.
Let's just hope that came out of her mouth, okay?
I'm not even intentionally doing any of these noises. They just happen.
But the writer of comic books and author of books has agreed to come on the show if we can get over 100 Twitter followers.
Oh my god, that would be so amazing.
So, all you people listening, please follow our Twitter. I promise it's not intrusive. Anyone can tell you. I don't post to it that often simply because I don't think people need to know what milk I'm eating in my cereal, for fuck's sake.
Smart.
But if we can prove that we have people listening to the show, they'll come on the show. And I don't think I need to tell you how many podcasts are probably out there that don't do interviews, and we have people willing to talk to us.
Yeah. I want to talk to Nathan Burnett. He seems really cool.
So do I. So, please just give us a follow on Twitter. Don't have to post anything. Don't have to say how much we rock because we all know you hate us. But...
Or at least half of you do, the DC half.
Yeah.
Yeah, my nephew, every time I see him, it's just like, dude, what's up with the DC hate? I'm like, I don't hate DC. I just don't particularly like it.
Yeah, it's not hate, it's just not us, man.
But we do hate on it a bit.
Yeah. I like Batman. That's
Just
about
Superman.
it.
I like the idea of Batman is just some of the stars is like not interesting.
Let me rephrase. I like the Christian Bale Batmans. I am less certain about the rest.
Okay.
He wants to tri-hump the final.
Maybe.
God damn, she blue screened me. Actually, that reminds me, V, you owe us a list.
Oh, damn it. Next week.
Okay. Speaking of which, for next week, maybe it's time that we... I'm not going to ask you guys to come in for the weekends of Christmas and New Year's. We all have different shit that we need to either get ready for or see.
Okay.
That's only fair. But for next week, maybe we should just keep it a little more general. Because we need to be able to catch up with each other. I think we also should go through some of the better things that we've seen and done through the last year.
Yeah,
Ooh, I have watched
I'm not
a
gonna be
lot.
Able to make next week, I'll tell you that now.
Okay. I've watched a lot of science fiction.
Maybe it's time to make it a best of and talk about some of the noteworthy items that have gotten either we remember or just plain gotten away and we wish we had back.
Okay.
Because I got a few things I would like to talk about for a little bit that I don't think enough people watch because they're canceled for fuck's sake. It's like, shit, I enjoyed Sons of Anarchy and now that's over.
Didn't it have like 6 seasons or something?
It was 6 seasons and the writer ended it. It wasn't like it was canceled. He just finished the series.
That's good.
Yeah, for fuck's sake, the guy in the lead, Charlie Hunnam, the guy from Pacific Rim, he put on some performances that if he doesn't win an Emmy, he's being underserved, frankly. It was scary how good he was in the last 3 episodes of the show.
There's some like that, and lots of I haven't seen the show myself, so I've heard it's good.
I recommend it to people, but I gotta admit, it is hard to get people to watch a show that is usually described as Hamlet on motorcycles.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a big draw for me either.
See, it was one of those things where when I read the original synopsis, I scoffed. Then I sat down and watched 3 episodes, and before I knew it, I went through like 3 seasons in 4 days. But that's a whole other thing. So next week we'll just come in and discuss the last year of entertainment and maybe a few things we could recommend to people who are looking for new ways to get into things and other items that people may have overlooked. That sound fair?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. I think we're going to end it there because we've been at this long enough, I know for sure. Thank you very much for tuning in. I invite you to roll with us again during the end of the holiday season. And as we gear up for Anime Los Angeles. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
Jesse.
And V.
Thank you very much. You guys sterile after the jokes about lady offered porn? Honey Boo Boo's mother?
Oh.
Stop. Don't.